Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Hello, friends, and welcome to our coverage of the ECL Elite Division right here at twitch.tv/SportsGamerGG. My name is Brandon Bigsby, better known to you all as B Major, and we are back for our third day of ECL coverage. We had an amazing day here in the Elite Division on Monday, had some Pro Division action yesterday, and are back, turning it back in with the Elite Division with two really fun matchups for the more experienced teams that you will find in the Elite side of things, starting out with EXEN versus Last Dance for our opening series, and then that being followed by Vapor versus Tohtorit, with EXEN and Last Dance starting things off. Two teams that have been playoff staples over the last couple of years. EXEN looking to bounce back after what was a disappointing season for them a season ago, while obviously Last Dance, the storyline in the name, is this going to be the last ride for Eki and the rest of this long-standing group that we have seen over the years. They've gotten off to a good start to their season. We'll get to see these two sides on broadcast for the first time here today. Let's take a quick look at the standings. We've had some action happen over the last 48 hours or so since we last took a look at the Elite Division, and as you can see, a few things changing throughout the Elite Division standings. Mythic still holding on to that number one spot, 26 points in 10 games played. Did take their first loss of the season in overtime yesterday, but nevertheless, still very impressive. And then right behind them, one of the teams that we will be covering here today in Last Dance, as we mentioned, who have just gotten off to an absolutely phenomenal start to the season as expected. You see a couple of the other teams that we'll be covering today, Tohtorit holding on to that 7th spot, and then over on the right side, two of the other teams we'll be covering, one being in Vapor, which will be our second game. Vapor, for those who do not know, formerly Tiki Talk. That was one of the name changes that we had along with V-Nexus, who was formerly Vesapampa. And then EXEN at that 14 spot, who, once again, similarly to last season, struggling to start out the season, kind of getting out of the gate slow. 2-4, only 5 points in the standing, 6 games in. And we've seen a lot of times over the last 2 seasons, teams that start out slow have to play a lot of catch up during the middle to later parts of the season. EXEN didn't even clinch a playoff spot last season until the last couple of days. So they already have had to go through that once. They made a couple of roster changes, which we'll talk about a little bit later on today. So far, another slow start potentially plaguing them a little bit here as they want to get their way over to that left side of the board. Speaking of Last Dance and EXEN, let's dive a little bit deeper into these two teams, starting out with our team matchup to give you a look of how these two sides have done so far. And as you can see, Last Dance doing about what you would expect them to. They've played a lot of close games, but nevertheless, they're still winning. They're still winning in rather impressive fashion, just in the way that they play, the way they are able to control games. They actually average 3.25 goals for per game. That is one of the highest marks in the league. Really just doing a good job of finding their way to offense. And obviously the big story, some of the changes that they have made within this lineup that we will get into in a little bit. While for EXEN, still trying to find their rhythm a little bit, man. Just have not been able to really get things going consistently. That penalty kill, especially rough, 40% so far on the PK. And then you see just the difference in goals for compared to goals against, a -8 in goal differential so far to start the season. Now, in EXEN's defense, they've played some tough competition, obviously, to start the season. Had 2 games against Parasite, 2 games against Mythic, so a couple of the teams that you would expect to be potential championship threats with the way things currently stand, but not the way this team wanted to get started out, that, again, just has so much talent across the board within their lineup. Let's now meet the starting lineups for both of these two sides, starting out with EXEN. Over on the right side, the forward trio, Hermu at left wing, Pikardie at center, and Bobby, their newest addition over at the right wing, transferring over from Mythics in the offseason, slotting in at that right wing spot. While back on defense, it'll be the typical pairing of Domi at left defense and Winger at right, while it'll be Katsu in between the pipes. While the starting lineup for EXEN, we've alluded to it a little bit, some of the changes that this team has made. You see a couple of familiar names, but a few newer ones. Puanzo at left wing, Eki at center, and Nicky Dangles, arguably the biggest transfer in the ECL over the offseason, moving from his longtime spot in Parasite, going over to their rivals in Last Dance. He is starting at that right wing spot today. Lundstrom and Yamal Demand at the left defense and right defense, and the longtime starting goaltender for this core in Hantalino in between the pipes here today. So we talked about it, a lot of the lineup changes for that Last Dance team, a couple of the lineup changes for EXEN. We're going to see all of those unfold, and we'll see all of it in action here today. Again, the first time we've seen either of these two teams on broadcast here so far this season. Going to be fun to kind of get a closer up close and personal look at both these two teams, especially with some of those newer names in new places. Let's take it position by position now, starting out with the centers. Two centers that are very familiar with each other over the years. Picardy going up against Eki, and I mean, what else can you say about Eki? Just phenomenal as ever. It feels like it doesn't matter who you put him with. It doesn't matter the situation. He always seems to be one of the more consistent, not just centers, but one of the more consistent players that you will find in the ECL, whether he's a defense, whether he's a winger, whether he's a center. Always seems to find a way to produce. It has been no different so far to start out this season, averaging about 2 points per game, 12 assists so far out of his 16 points. He has been absolutely superb per usual. While for Picardy, a little bit lower, I think, statistically than what we would typically see from him. Someone that, if you recall, a year ago was the starting center for Tunnel Vision during their Last Dance championship run, was phenomenal with them, has really emerged to become one of the higher-end centers in the league. And what's crazy is that Picardy, despite only having 7 points in 6 games played, is tied for the team lead in points. So has struggled a little bit out the gate. It's going to be interesting to see if he can step up a little bit and get things going, because he is a high-end player on both ends of the ice, much better than what those stats would detail. Moving now over to the wingers that'll be lining up next to these two, to the left and the right. And again, some newer pairings that we typically don't see, starting out with Hermu and Bobby. We talked about Bobby moving over from Mythic, someone that has really emerged as, I think, one of the more underratedly gifted wingers in the league. Mythic's a team that didn't really get talked about a whole lot. A team that was typically around that 5 to 6 range in the standings. We're taken seriously as a playoff threat, but not necessarily a championship contending team. Bobby was one of the leaders for that team, always was able to find his way to the puck, always was able to find ways to capitalize on those opportunities, and was a good play creator for this team. Had 29 assists last season, 27 assists before that. Someone that has really stepped up over the last few seasons and has proven himself to be a quality elite division forward, while Hermu, somebody that is coming back into the ECL after not playing since the ECL 23 spring season with Polsky boys. Not the most elite division experience, but someone that can come in, fill his role well, had a really nice FCL at 30 goals and 49 points in 18 games. Somebody that'll be interesting to see how he continues to adjust, not just to his new team, but to this new lineup. While Puanzo back for this Last Dance team, going up with Nicky Dangles, who, as we mentioned, arguably the highest end transfer that we've seen over the offseason. Moving now over to the defensive side of things, as, again, two familiar pairings, two pairings that paired together last season. Domi and Wenger looking to bounce back after an underwhelming season last season. Good defensively, but these are two defensemen that obviously contribute on the offensive end as well. Were able to stop things in their own end, weren't able to create too much on the offensive end, trying to remedy that here today. While it's Lundstrom with Yamal, the former Ivaskula pairing, getting back together. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. If you remember, Lundstrom used to play for this EXEN side. He was with this team just a season ago, so playing his former team will be fun to see how he can maybe go up against these guys that he was familiar with and contributed with for just 2 seasons. Played with them in the spring 24 and the winter 25 season. Last season as a forward was one of their leading point getters. Last but not least, the starting goaltenders for these two sides. Again, 2 very familiar names in the Elite Division with plenty of experience. Katsu for EXEN having a good start to the season despite EXEN's slow start, that 83.6 save percentage. Solid and about what you would expect from a guy like Kazu, who has been consistently good in this division. Hanselino, those stats very surprising to see, and not necessarily for good reason. A 73.7 save percentage in the 8 games that he has started. Hanselino, you know the name if you have watched our coverage for any amount of seasons. He is one of the best goalies to ever play in this league. Someone that has been on top of his game for as long as I can remember. Was great last season, was great the season before, really kind of struggling to find that rhythm so far to start out. 6-1-1 record, however, so he's still winning games. So I'm sure that the personal stats will start to ramp their way up as we move along, but expect him to be solid here today. He always seems to play his best against the better competition. EXEN qualifying in that realm. Well, we're on our way, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be just a few moments away from kicking things off here today. We'll have 2 games between these 2 sides, and then once again, we will have Vapor going up against Tohtorit in our final series of our broadcast as the 2 teams just get things set up before we start out our action here today. And while we do have a couple of minutes, we want to make sure to shout out a couple of our amazing sponsors and give you guys the opportunity to take a chance at a couple of amazing deals, starting out with our friends over at Game Changer. If you go to GameChangerOfficial.fi and use the code SportsGamer10 at checkout, you can get a nice little discount for yourself. And Game Changer has a ton of great products, whether it's immunity boost, level down, level up, or performance. It can help your focus. It can help your relaxation. It can help a lot of different things. It can help your recovery after a workout. They have all types of different supplements that can help you for different situations. So make sure you go to GameChangerOfficial.fi and check out their products. If you use that code SportsGamer10, you can get a nice little discount on your purchase on what are already some really great prices. So make sure you go and check them out. And a big thank you to Game Changer for their support of everything we're doing here at SportsGamer. And also, if you go to health.sportsgamer.gg and use the code SportsGamer1, you can get a 1-month free trial over at Wellnet. They have all kinds of amazing videos for exercises and things of that nature. Obviously, it could be a little bit of a pain to exercise. You have to go out. Sometimes you have to go to a gym. A nice, easy way to just go on your phone or go on your computer, get some nice exercises at home, keep yourself active, keep yourself fit. You can all do it for a 1-month free trial as well with that code SportsGamer1. So make sure you go to health.sportsgamer.gg and use that code SportsGamer1 to take advantage of that. And once again, a thank you to Wellnet for their support of SportsGamer and the ECL over the last couple of seasons. Sounds like we're just about 30 to 45 seconds away from getting that game 1 between EXEN and Last Dance underway. And once again, 2 teams with plenty of storylines coming into the season. EXEN, a team that kind of have struggled out of the gate the last couple of seasons, were a team that coming in the last season, everyone had pretty much sharpied in as a championship threat, ended up finishing 7th in the regular season standings. As we mentioned, a team that really just kind of started slow and never were really able to recover, finished off the season really well, and that was what got them into the playoffs, but ran into Tohtorit, were bounced out early in the playoffs, and made a couple of changes to their lineup with the 2 wingers and Bobby and Hermu. And so far, another slow start to their season, kind of plaguing at them a little bit. Well, again, on the other side for Last Dance, a team that all the rumors, is this actually the Last Dance? It may not just be a catchy nickname. They made a couple of changes, added in Lundstrom, added in Nicky Dangles. You have Puanso coming back into the fold after not playing for a while. He at last played a little bit with Tiki Talk, played 8 games with them, but this being the first time since the ECL 24 spring season that he is consistently a regular part of a starting lineup. And, you know, somebody that has been around for a long time, was a staple of those Havu teams back in the day, played with Havu Gaming for a while, and then moved over to Frölunda when Havu and Frölunda or Havu and Philadelphia rather, kind of had the merger. So someone that's been around for a long time, has been productive in every season he has played in. Obviously, we've talked about Nicky Dangles, the long-time winger for those H-Red/Parasite teams. Moving over to his first new team in really a long time. We have seen him and Benito and Villapuica just be that all-star trio for so long. coming over to this new team and so far has been absolutely phenomenal. 17 points in 8 games played. You saw both teams ready to go in the lobby as we're about to get underway here for our first of 4 games here today. And again, make sure you get your prediction in. Just a few more seconds left on that. So for those of you in our Twitch chat, make sure to throw some points down on who you think is going to win, EXEN or Last Dance. And if you don't get it in this time, you'll have another shot here to do it for game number 2, as well as the remainder of our games here today, as we will be watching from the perspective of EXEN. They are in their white uniforms moving up, down, while Last Dance in their blacks moving downward as we are underway here for game number 1. And Last Dance wasting no time here in the offensive zone, getting things set up as they work it in behind the net. And for space and up to the point to Lundstrom. Now over to Eki, giving it back over to Nicky Dangles, who tried to pass that in front but was picked off. And now EXEN will try to get things going offensively. Eki, however, picking it off in the neutral zone and skating forward. Nice little attempt on the deke move there. But couldn't hold on to it, but Lundstrom now with it at the point. The shot on there, that was from Yamal the man, but was blocked in front. Another chance there, but picked off. But Last Dance getting it back as Nicky Dangles tried to feed Eki in front, but it was picked off by Picardy. Now EXEN will get things set up. Domi within the neutral zone, giving it back over to Wenger. Finding Hermu. At the point to Domi. Now to Wenger at the right point, looking for a play. Picardy with the shot on. Blocker save made by Hanselinho. And now here comes Last Dance on the other end, giving it over to Eki. Back for a shot on. Save made there. Now it's Puanso. Actually hit the side of the net, but a delayed penalty going to be called. Last Dance with a power play coming up here. Nicky Dangles over to Lundstrom. Hanselinho now out. He's a talented forward despite being a goalie. Someone to look out for, trying to feed him there. But the pass picked off. And now I'll put Last Dance on the man advantage, as it'll be Domi heading to the box for 2 minutes. So far this season, Last Dance 14.3% on the power play, while EXEN on the penalty kill just 40%. So a couple of struggling special teams units going head to head here on this end. See which one will be able to get the better of the other. As EXEN win the defensive zone face-off and clear it into the neutral zone before it's picked up by Lundstrom. Lost that puck, however, and now Hermu is going to be able to clear that out. Lundstrom, yet again, right place, right time, picking that one up, and now Last Dance, rather, in the offensive end. As a one-time shot and they score! Nicky Dangles puts it in, and Last Dance strike first with a power play goal. As you see the replay, it was a bit of a clunky play. The pass looked like it was originally intended to go towards the middle as Yamal the man was working with it. Bounced off of a defender, found its way to Nicky Dangle's stick, and he immediately rips that one on net. Is able to beat Katsu, and Last Dance, strike first. A 1-0 lead here early on in this game. As EXEN have possession, Domi, who was the one that took that penalty, moving it up and giving it to Hermu, but it's turned over, and now here comes Last Dance. Eki with some space, pass across. Couldn't get that one complete with a shot on net, and EXEN now take over possession. Halfway through this first period, Last Dance with a 1-0 lead. Domi controls at the point, gives up to Wenger, looking for space, and finds Bobby over to the right side. Back to Wenger at the point, circling around, giving it to Domi back at the left side. Now to Picardy. Bumped off of that puck, and now Eki picks it up for a Last Dance rush. Lundstrom up to Nicky Dangles, speeding up the boards, giving it back to Lundstrom, passing it across to Eki, but a nice job from Wenger breaking that up. EXEN not able to get out of their own end, however. Eki getting it. Pass across there from Nicky Dangles to Puanso, but could not get the shot on cleanly. Now EXEN trying to work their way in the offensive zone. They do. Hermu to Bobby. Bobby at the right corner and giving up to Picardy. Delayed penalty called. EXEN on the power play coming up unless they score here. Shot on, brushed aside by Hanselinho. EXEN still on the attack. Wenger shot from the point, blocked in front by Eki. And that will bring the man advantage here for EXEN as Lundstrom will head to the box for 2 minutes as you can see a tripping call, just that last poke check animation right there getting him. EXEN will have a chance to respond with a power play goal of their own. Last Dance, 80% on the penalty kill so far this season. EXEN, 14.3% on the power play. They win the face-off in the offensive zone. Domi at the point. Circles back to Wenger, skating up, trying to get it forward, and he does, and it goes in! Hermu responds with a power play goal of his own, and EXEN knot things back up on what was a rather clunky play. It was passed in front and just kind of hit off of Hermu and past Hanselino. And it's not a goal that's going to end up on his highlight reel at the end of the season, but it's good enough to tie the game, and that's what matters. As EXEN give one up on the man advantage and get one back on the man advantage. So a 1-1 score here in the first period. These two sides mirroring each other so far in every single way. The only difference, EXEN with just one more shot on net. So with 5 minutes to go, EXEN tied things up. Hermu getting that goal for EXEN, while it's Nicky Dangles on the right wing side, starting out the scoring for Last Dance. His Last Dance in the offensive zone now. It's a one-timer from Nicky Dangles. Another chance there from Eki. Katsu right there on the money to make that save, and he'll hold on for the stoppage with 3.5 to play in period 1. Starting out the scoring for Last Dance. His Last Dance in the offensive zone now. It's a one-timer from Nicky Dangles. Another chance there from face off to the left side of Katsu and the Last Dance offensive zone. Nicky Dangles gets it, moves it up to the point. Jamal Demand with it. Looking, passed over to Lundstrom for the one-timer, but saved. As another penalty going to be called here, and EXEN going to be down a man once again, as this time it's going to be Wenger for that hit attempt right there, and I'll be heading to the box. So the captain of this EXEN team going to have his team shorthanded for the next 2 minutes. And Last Dance going to get another chance here on the power play. 1-for-1 so far, as both these two teams have scored their one goal on the man advantage. And we can take a quick look at the stats here, and you see Last Dance doing what they do best, controlling the game with possession. 4-11 of time on attack so far, despite only having 4 shots. EXEN with 2.5 minutes, but just not able to match the zone time that Last Dance have been able to earn themselves here. Face off to the right side of Katsu. Tied up, but won by Last Dance at the point. As Jamal has it, gives it to Lundstrom. Working it, back to Jamal, shot on, blockered away by Kazu. Last Dance still working in the offensive end. Lundstrom evading a defender, looking for an option. Pass across and they score! Puanzo on the one-timer! And Last Dance punch back and retake their lead. A 2-1 score late in the first period. And how about that cycle from Last Dance, just working it between those two defenders? Lundstrom and Jamal Demand, and eventually are able to break open a little bit of space, and you saw it right there. Puanzo just kind of hanging around that left face-off circle. You know, you call it Ovi's office. Puanzo's office that time around, just able to create a little bit of that space. Defenders back off of him just a little bit to give attention to the puck carriers, and it leaves Puanzo open. He makes no mistake, puts that one in the back of the net to recapture the lead for Last Dance. 2-1 your score as we approach the 1-minute mark here in period number 1. The puck battled for in the neutral zone, found by EXEN. Moving it forward now as Picardy controls it, gives it to Bobby. 10 seconds now remaining. Turned over, Lundstrom picks it up, and now Last Dance with a rush chance here. 5 seconds to go. This is dumped in. A penalty going to be called yet again against EXEN. Wenger heading back to the box. He just took that penalty on that second power play goal for Last Dance, and he's going to go again here, this time for tripping. So penalties, a common thread here so far in the beginning of this series. The third of the day for EXEN. Last Dance have taken one, and it looks like they're going to pull Hanselino on top of it with just 2.5 seconds remaining. Face off to the left of Kazu. 1 to Lundstrom. Shot on. Saved there by Kazu. He had to be sharp on that one, and that will do it for our opening 20 minutes. Plenty of action between these two sides. Seconds remaining. But it's Last Dance with the 1 goal advantage on that one-time goal from Puanzo over on the left side. Get another look at it right there. Just a nice set play there from Last Dance. Again, they're a team that thrive on possession, thrive on puck movement. They just space out a defense so much, they force you into a mistake, and that was exactly what happened right there. And they have another opportunity here on the power play coming up. 1 minute and 58 seconds remaining on it, in fact. So almost a full power play here upcoming for Last Dance. Start out this second period. As we are ready to get underway for period number 2, our first of 4 games of our coverage here today. We want to thank our amazing sponsors in COVID on Lockett and Game Changer for their amazing support of the ECL and SportsGamer. As a shot on net there from Last Dance hit the side of the cage. Still trying to push here in the offensive zone, and they maintain possession. Nice fight there from Eki to keep that puck. Still working with it now. They score! Nicky Dangles on the pass from Puanzo. 3 for 3 on the power play for Last Dance, and they double their lead now to 2. And again, just the quick passing, the puck movement of Last Dance. It's what they do. And they're doing it to perfection right now. Second goal of the game there for Nicky Dangles, posted up over at that right post. Just taps that one in. And Last Dance in control, a 3-1 lead here. Just a minute into this second period. Last Dance with possession here once again. Eki with it. Working, and once again a penalty going to be called against EXEN. Things going from bad to worse for the team in white. As it is once again Wenger heading to the box. His third penalty taken so far in this game, and I mean, that's just a trip you can't have right there. 2 guys in front of you, and you go for that poke check. You want to make the defensive play, but just a mistake from a veteran defender in Wenger who has contributed to championships over the years. Not having his best performance so far to start this game. And Last Dance, who, as we mentioned, 3 for 3 on the power play so far today. All 4 goals between these two teams have come on the man advantage. We've yet to see an even strength goal. Last Dance looking to add to that tally here. As a pass across from Yamal was blocked in front. Another chance there, a shot backhand from afar. Saved by Katsu, and he'll hold on for the stoppage. 1:25 to go here on this Last Dance power play. Keem Peekody on the face-off dot, and Eki wins it back. Trolling it is Puanzo. Gives it to Lundstrom at the point, now to Yamal. Bumped off of that puck, a nice defensive play made there by Bobby. Right back in the offensive zone, though, is Last Dance, who tried to pass it across, but it's picked off and cleared out by EXEN. Their best penalty kill effort so far today. Last Dance forced to reset. Eki controlling it. Tried to give it up to Puanzo, but nobody home, and EXEN will be able to clear this out, and that will kill off the remaining time on the Last Dance power play. So EXEN finally able to stop the bleeding short-handed. Last Dance 3 for 4. Oh, so terrible. What a drop off for them. But nevertheless, the team has been superb on the power play, finally slowed down there. They maintain their 3-1 lead with all those goals being on the man advantage. A shot on there was saved in the chest of Katsu. 11th shot on net there from Last Dance, compared to just 3 so far for EXEN. All the momentum completely swinging in the opposite direction for them. Offensive zone face-off here for Last Dance, tied up by Eki and found by Nicky Dangles after originally looked like EXEN was going to get it. Eki controlling it at the right corner, bumped off of that puck from behind. A nice defensive effort there from EXEN as now Wenger moves it into the offensive end. Looking for time and space, but could not find either. Puck goes into the neutral zone and Wenger retrieves it. Bumped off that puck was EXEN. Now here comes Last Dance down the other end, trying to hit Puanzo in the middle, but picked off. And here comes Hermu now for EXEN. Domi controlling it at the left boards. Tried to hit Wenger, but that pass was off, and it's just been one of those games so far for EXEN, just a little bit off on both ends. Can they fix things here on this possession? As a pass from Picardy across, not able to hit Bobby. Good play, but just a little bit off. On the offensive zone, however, Eki gets it in the defensive end, and now here come Last Dance on the counterattack. Puanzo with space, pass across, backhand shot from Nicky Dangles goes wide. Still in control, however. Gives it up to Yamal Man. One-timer from Lostrom at the point, saved by Kazu. And he'll freeze it with 7:46 to play here in period number 2. Some trying to push back here a little bit, but Last Dance still the ones creating opportunities. Tied up, won by Last Dance in the offensive zone. Eki to Nicky Dangles behind the net. Works it up to the point. Yamal to Lundstrom. Lundstrom. One-timer from Nicky Dangles. Saved, though, by Kazu again. He has been good so far today, despite the scoreline. He will once again freeze. Another defensive zone draw here for EXEN to the left side of Kazu, and it's won by Picardy. Picardy trying to move it up, but couldn't. A breakaway here potentially for Eki. Backhand shot saved by Kazu. Last Dance still pushing. They have full pressure. Lundstrom at the point, looking for space. A nice job from Bobby there to get him off of that puck, and it forces a reset. Bobby, he's been good so far defensively at that right wing side. Haven't called his name much offensively, but if you can contribute on one end at least, helps your team's chances. He's done that so far with a couple of nice defensive plays. Zone face-off here after the offsides call, won by EXEN. Monster ends up taking it off the stick of Bobby and turns it over after that pass attempt is picked off by Domi. Dance with it now in the neutral zone. Eki with some space, moving it up, shot on, saved easily off of the blocker of Kazu. Here come EXEN, breakaway for Bobby, one-on-one, Hontalino flying poke check save. Haven't called his name much, he's been quiet due to the lack of chances, but he steps up big with the aggression and stops what would have been a massive goal possibly there for EXEN. An offensive zone draw here, however, coming up for EXEN. We'll see what they can do with it. One in the defensive zone by Last Dance. Puck battled for in the neutral zone and found by Eki. Moves it across over to Lundstrom. To Yamal. Skating forward, gives it to Puanzo at the point, covering for Lundstrom over at that left defense spot. And here's a turnover and a chance for EXEN. Bobby with it, moves it back to Wenger. Wenger holding it at the high left faceoff circle, looking for a pass or a shot. Gives it up to Bobby, back to Wenger. Over to Domi, back to Wenger, couldn't get the shot off clean, gets it off that time, and it's saved by Hontalino with ease, and that will do it for period number 2. Last Dance with a 2-goal advantage, a pair of those goals from their newest addition in Nicky Dangles. A pair of goals right off of that right post. Last Dance with a 3-2-1 lead. As we do want to let you guys know, we are actually going to swap streams. We had a bit of an audio issue. The commentary was on from the EXEN perspective, so we are now going to be looking from the Last Dance side of things. So don't want any confusion there. Last Dance is the perspective we'll be looking at. They'll be moving up, down, black jerseys. EXEN moving down, up in the all-white uniform. So just wanted to make sure that we made everybody aware of that so there wasn't any confusion. Obviously, with a bit of a swap there mid-game, but there is no confusion on who has been controlling this game so far. You see all of the stats. Last Dance, 15 shots compared to 4, 8 minutes and 41 seconds time on attack compared to 4:40. It has been all Last Dance so far through 2 periods of play. EXEN, they've had a chance here and there, but just have not really been able to find much consistency. Only 1 shot in that second period, and that was right at the end there. So EXEN still looking to find their groove. We'll see if they can adjust here as we are underway for period number 3. Once again, we are watching the perspective of Last Dance now. They have possession of it right now, moving it forward. That's a nice job there. EXEN able to create the turnover. Moving it into the offensive end now. There's a shot on there. They made in front, or rather blocked in front. EXEN going to be forced to reset here. Tohtorit dumps it in. Puck given chase and found first by Lundstrom. Trying to move that up to Eki down the middle, but couldn't find him cleanly. Wenger with it, pass in front, puck loose, and found by Hanselinho, who will hold on and save for defensive zone faceoff coming up here for Last Dance. Face off to the right of Hanselinho, tied up and found by Bobby for EXEN. Turned over and all the man starts to break out, giving it up to Nicky Dangles, but his 2 forwards in front of him just a step ahead, so an offside's called. Neutral zone face-off here, won by Eki cleanly. Last Dance, they get it in the offensive zone. A nice pass to Nicky Dangles, trying to pass it back to him there. It was Lundstrom, but couldn't connect. Tohtorit gets it for EXEN and will try to get things going here offensively. Only down by 2 and still a lot of time, but EXEN just not a lot of chances here throughout this game. Approaching the 14-minute mark here in regulation. As Eki with it, trying to move it in front to Nicky Dangles, but Johnny on the spot there, denying that play. An offside's called as Hermu tried to move it forward there for EXEN. Another neutral zone face-off coming up here. 2 gold helmet wearers for this team in Eki and Tohtorit. Last Dance, get it, move it up to the right side to Nicky Dangles. Nicky Dangles on the pass from Eki over to Puazzo. Unable to convert on that play, but that's some of that quick passing that Last Dance has done so well at so far throughout this game. There's a shot on there from EXEN, saved by Hanselinho. Unable to get a second look at it, and here comes Last Dance. Eki with control of it. Gives it down low. And it finds its way up to the point to Lundstrom after Puazzo not able to pick that puck up. Nicky Dangles now with it to Eki. Back to Nicky Dangles. Poke checked away, but found by Nicky again in the slot. Lundstrom to Eki, now to Puazzo at the left corner. Down to Eki behind the net, lost control of it there for a moment, but recovered by Puazzo. 2 defenders next to him, and now lead to a turnover and a potential breakaway. Here's Hermu, shot on, but no, it's poke check before you can get it off. Hanselinho plays that out. EXEN find possession. Trying to get it out now is Last Dance, but EXEN applying some pressure here. This is Yamal with it, and he moves it up forward to Puazzo. And now clear things out and forces EXEN to reset. Tohtorit past the blue line. Shot in front and they score! Hermu! His second goal of the game! And EXEN cut that lead in half. It's now 3-2. As again, it was Tohtorit on the rush up the right boards. Kind of went behind the net, just passed that in front to Hermu, who just jams that puck in there through Hanselinho. You get a look at him there, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. Just kind of jammed that puck through on that pass in front. And EXEN making things interesting here. We said it a little bit earlier. They haven't had the chances, but still a lot of time, still a close game. And now just 1 goal separates these 2 sides. A 3-2 score. Last Dance still up ahead with 6:29 to play, but EXEN punching back here, making things interesting, and they have possession here once again in the neutral zone as Wenger controls it. Finds Picardy. Nice little move, couldn't get the shot on, no, a couple of one-touch dekes, dancing its way through the defense there. Eki controlling it now for last dance in the neutral zone. Finds his way to Nicky Dangles. Rings it around. Eki couldn't win that race to the puck, however, and now here comes EXEN moving down the other end. Hermu has both goals for EXEN so far today. By the way, that was our first goal of the day on even strength for either side. 4 of our 5 goals all on the power play. Special teams have been a story. Picardy at the boards, moves it back to Domi, to Wenger, back to Domi, to Hermu, back to Domi at the point, back to Wenger, now to Picardy, shot on, hits the post. Close opportunity there for EXEN and last dance on the counterattack. Palazzo holding it, nice job there. He knows that the time is more important, trying to deny EXEN the possession at one time. Patience is a virtue, and it leads to a goal for last dance. It's Palazzo for the second time today. Just holding on to that possession. And who else but Eki, his teammate of a few seasons, making the play on that pass. And right when EXEN looked like they might have had an opportunity to tie, they had that shot on net, it hit the post. Last dance go right down the other end. Have a nice patient possession, didn't take the first chance that they saw, but took the best chance. And bring their lead back up to 2 with 50 seconds remaining. And they have another opportunity here with possession in the offensive end. Eki pass in front there. Blocked on the shot attempt after. It's a shot there from EXEN. Saved by Hanselino. Another chance there from the point from Picardy, blocked in front. EXEN still pushing. Monstrom now gets it in his own end. 23 seconds remaining now. Last dance holding on well so far. Alonso bumped off of that puck in the offensive zone, and Hermu pushes it up to Wenger. Now to Picardy, but turned over on that poke check. Nicky Dangles poking that puck away from Hermu and winning possession. Last dance winning this game in the margins, and it looks like it's going to lead them to a victory as a one-timer from Hermu, stopped by Hanselino, and that will do it. Last dance win, 4-2 over EXEN. And you can't say it wasn't well-deserved. They dominated the possession, had the majority of opportunities. EXEN with a nice effort there in the third period, but not enough to overcome 3 power play goals from last dance. That's Puanzo with 2 goals, Nicky Dangles with 2 goals, the winger pair of last dance stepping up and doing their best. The 2 transfers showing why they came over to the side, joining Eki for that forward trio. And they take down an EXEN team that, despite all the talent littered throughout this lineup, just struggling to find their form and find their way. Last dance take game number 1, 4-2. They'll match up one more time here. And we'll have Vapor versus Tohtorit for 2 games. So we'll take one final quick look at the stats, and you see it there. All the shots, all the zone time in favor of Last Dance. It earns them a 2-goal victory, a 4-2 win over EXEN, as we will bring you back into the booth. Brandon Bigsby with you. We're going to take a short break, hear a word from our sponsors, and get things ready to go for game number 2 between Last Dance and EXEN. Last Dance picking up the victory. We'll see if they can do it again. Don't go away. We will be right back after the break.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from Wellnet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.
kastike maistuu parhaalta. Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Thank you for sticking with us. We are back with game number 2 between Last Dance and EXEN. Last Dance taking the first game 4-2. A pair of goals from Palazzo and Nicky Dangles leading the charge. 3 of those 4 goals on the power play. Last Dance hoping to carry over a little bit of that similar magic here in the second matchup. Well, it'll be interesting to see what adjustments EXEN made during that break. Had a nice third period for the most part, but just the damage far too done for them, and we'll see how they adjust. As once again, we are watching from the perspective of Last Dance. They're in the white jerseys moving upward on your screen, while EXEN in their all black and pinks moving downward. They have possession right now as Wenger controlling possession here. Getting over to Domi. Back to Wenger. The defenders working together, but poke checked away and turned over. Last Dance now moving up with it. Nice defensive play there, however, made by Bobby to take that one away. EXEN dump it in from the neutral zone. Bobby wins the race to the puck. Poke checked away by Eki. Battled for and won by Hermu. Shot on net and goes in! It squeaks through the pads of Hanselinho, and Hermu with his 3rd goal of the game, or rather of the day. Opening goal of the game, and EXEN strike first, coordinate the exact response you want to see after a tough game 1. As you get a look at it once again, looked like Hanselinho was there, but weeks through the pads, maybe wasn't able to get into that butterfly position quick enough, but nevertheless, EXEN just a little bit under 4 minutes in. Draw first blood, a 1-0 lead, first shot on goal of the game, your first goal of the game. Dance trying to find a response here. Turned over and found by EXEN. EXEN playing with a little bit of pep in their step right now. There's a pass in front to Picardy, a penalty going to be called. Picardy, 8 ice on that one. That's going to be a tripping penalty, and EXEN going to have a power play unless they score here on this possession. Kazu joins the rush, a 6-on-5 now. Hernu up to Domi at the point. Now to Wenger. Looking for space, finds Picardy, and that's going to be poke checked away and touched up by Last Dance. So a power play coming up here for EXEN. Lundstrom heading to the box now for Last Dance, as you can see right there. Just went through that left stick, and ooh-wee, that was a hard fall there for Picardy's player to take. Right to the ice and then head first into the boards, but nevertheless, EXEN going to have a power play opportunity here. Remember, they had 1 power play in the first game and scored on it, so 1 for 1 so far today. Wenger controlling it at the high point, gives up to Domi, looking for a shot or a pass. Goes to Picardy, and now back to Domi. Back to Wenger at the right point, skates for a one-time shot from Hermu. It's blocked in front. EXEN still pushing. As a shot tipped or blocked in front, doesn't go on net. As Yamal the man takes at the boards, but not able to clear it out. Picardy with it, tripped up again. A shot on from Hermu. Puck loose, found, however, by Hanselinho. As another penalty going to be called. This time it's Eki that's the guilty party. And that'll lead to a 5-on-3 here for EXEN. So Eki joining Lundstrom in the sin bin. And EXEN with a 2-man advantage now for the next 30 seconds, as we will have to watch the first-person view of Eki here, unfortunately, but we'll do our best to call you to action as we see it, as EXEN move it into the offensive zone, as you see Yamal going out of the box, so now back to a 5-on-4. EXEN trying to move it forward. A shot on was saved by Hanselinho. Looked like he actually played that out. As Last Dance looking to dump that out, and they do so in the neutral zone. Monstrom able to dump that out, and EXEN gonna have to try to reset and push forward. 20 seconds to go on the EXEN power play. In the offensive zone, bumped off of that puck. And here come Last Dance as Eki now out of the box. So a 5-on-3 to no avail for EXEN, still holding on to a 1-0 lead and controlling the game, but has to feel like a missed opportunity as a delayed penalty now going to be called against EXEN. So Last Dance going to have a power play opportunity now. As this time, it will be Bobby heading to the box. Boy, the official in the penalty box has been quite busy today between these two teams. We talked about it. 4 power play goals in game 1 between the two. Last Dance had 3 of them. We've already seen 3 penalties here today in this game too. So Last Dance in the offensive end moving it. They've yet to have a shot on net so far in this game. They're not going to get one on that possession. Cleared out by EXEN. Nice defensive play made. They break it in, but an offside's called. 7:52 to go here in period number 1. EXEN a 1-0 lead. Hermu with the opening goal. Just about 3.5 minutes into the game. Things have been rather quiet since in terms of goal scoring opportunities, but plenty of action in the way of penalties. Last Dance struggling to break into the offensive zone. They're not able to, and EXEN going to immediately clear that out. Just 25 seconds to go on the Last Dance power play. The ball at the point. One-time shot from Puanzo, saved by Kazu. Behind the net is Nikki Dangles, back to even strength here. Another one-time shot, another save by Kazu. Puck loose in front, on top of the net, but found by Eki. Going over to Puanzo, puck still loose. Full pressure now for Last Dance. And another one-time shot, this one blocked in front. Another one, another save! Kazu standing on his head for EXEN. Last Dance still pushing here, another shot. Goes wide this time. Lundstrom to Yamal, fakes the shot. One-timer from Puanzo hits the post. Eki pass in front, another shot, and it hits the post again. Last Dance still pressuring, one-timer from the point, save from Kazu, pressured in front, and finds that puck in the blue paint. Eki pass in front, another shot, and it hits the post again. For Last Dance, Last Dance still pressuring, find their way in the net. What an effort from Kazu. And EXEN gonna collect their breath and call a timeout. I don't blame them one bit. Full pressure for the full 30 seconds for Last Dance. 2 shots hit the post, 6 shots registered on net, 1 hitting the stick of Kazu, and none of them find the twine. Absolutely unreal. The sequence of the season there so far for EXEN. But their job not done is an offensive zone faceoff coming up here for Last Dance. Tied up, won by EXEN, but turned over. Can they get it out of their own end? Oh, it's turned over to Eki, but wasn't able to get the shot off cleanly. As a one-timer from Nikki Dangle, saved by Kazu. EXEN taking all types of blows, but none of them knocking them down yet. As they finally clear it out. And Last Dance gonna have to reset. 40 seconds remaining here in period 1. Pass attempt to Nikki Dangles, disrupted. And here come EXEN down the other end. Turned over and found by Yamal Demand. 6 seconds to go. Puanzo to Eki, to Nikki Dangles. It's over, and he scores! Last Dance, unrelenting, and they finally break through. 1-1 now your score with just seconds remaining here in the opening period. And it was punch after punch after punch. You felt like after a while, Last Dance, they were going to have to find something. They were earning so many chances. And they finally do there on that counterattack rush. Lundstrom, the left defenseman, with his 2nd goal of the season. And with just 4 seconds remaining, they tie things up at 1 apiece. EXEN looking for one more chance. Slap shot saved by Hanselino. And that will do it for what was a first period that saw a little bit of everything. Penalties, saves, goals, defensive plays. Kazu, the man of the moment with that stretch that he had in the last 5 minutes, but Last Dance were finally able to break him there with just 4 seconds left. This shot on from Lundstrom. On the pass over from Eki. And we are all even here at 1 apiece after 20 minutes. See the stats? Doesn't feel like that long ago that EXEN had 3 shots and Last Dance had none. All of a sudden, Last Dance, 8 shots and 2 minutes and 24 seconds of time in attack. And I can guarantee you that almost every single second of that came within the last 5 minutes. All of their shots most definitely did. We get set for period number 2 and game number 2 between these two teams. Remember to stick with us after the conclusion of this game, as we will have our series between Vapor and Tohtorit. These two teams giving us quite the excitement. It'll be fun to see if that next series can match up to it. As we are underway for period number 2, we want to make sure to thank our sponsors, COVID on Lockensy and Game Changers. Hermo on a breakaway, but saved by Hanselino right into the glove. EXEN wasting no time to apply that pressure again. Tried to break in past the blue line, but an offside's called. Neutral zone face-off here coming up near the EXEN offensive zone. 1 on the tie-up by Last Dance. The ball gives up to Nicky Dangles, has some space, shot on, he scores! Nicky Dangles yet again, his 3rd goal of the day. And Last Dance take the lead 2-1. As we'll get a look at the replay, that quick pass up to Nicky Dangles was able to split the defenders, found some space, and just kind of squeaked that through Kazu. You can see it right there, just right through that right pad. And all of a sudden, Last Dance have taken this game over. 2-1 advantage for them. 9 shots on net after EXEN kind of had them at a stalemate there for the first 12 to 15 minutes of this game. And they might not be done! Plus, did they score? It's Puanzo this time! On the pass from Eki. And the tides have completely turned in the favor of Last Dance. As you'll get a look at the replay on that, you see that there. Eki just kind of moving that one across. Finds his man in stride, as Eki has been so good at doing in the past. And Last Dance up by 2. They found themselves down and struggling to find any offense. EXEN looking for a response. Bobby controlling the puck here in the offensive end for EXEN. Gave it up to Hermu, battling for the puck and finds it back. Domi to Wenger. Pressured and gives it back to Domi. Back to Wenger. Tried to give it over to Hermu, but it's picked off, and here come Last Dance again down the other end. And it's an offside going to be called, as Puanzo was just a step ahead of Eki and Nicky Dangles on that play. 14:29 to go. Here in period number 2, Last Dance with a pair of goals in the last couple of minutes. A 3-1 lead for them here in the second period. As Nicky Dangles is going to go back and reset things. Monster moving it up, slap shot into the offensive zone, found by Eki, puck loose in front, but Kazu there, and Domi cleans it up. Bobby with it. Puck loose in front, but no shot on net. Bobby gives it over to Peakery, and the shot on net gloved away there by Hanselino. Last Dance moving it up to the offensive end now. Eki controlling it. Gives it to Nicky Dangles, pass in front. Puck loose over the side of the cage. Shot on, hits the side of the net. But Last Dance still on the offense. Nicky Dangles turned it over. Here come EXEN down the other side. Picardy with it. Looking for space. Tried to pass it over to Domi, but was bumped off of that puck. And now take EXEN back to the neutral zone. Domi trying to break it past the blue line, but can't as he's bumped off of that puck. Ostrom now with it here for Last Dance. Over halfway through this game. Last Dance holding on to their 2-goal advantage. Possession now in their own end. Mickey Dangles up the right boards. Trying to give it up to Eki, but Domi cuts off the lane and will take over possession for EXEN. Bobby with it. Pass in front to Picardy, but Consolino able to squeeze tight and not allow that one to go past him. Offensive zone face-off coming up here now for EXEN. To the right of Consolino. Tied up. Found by Bobby. Up to Wenger, now to Domi. Shot on. Tipped in front. Maybe saved as well. As a shot on again there on the side of the net. Consolino was there and ready for it. Another offensive zone face-off for EXEN coming up, and Last Dance going to call a timeout as that full pressure meter was starting to creep up a little bit. See, all of a sudden, EXEN starting to get their offensive groove going again as they had early on in the first period. More shots on net almost than what they had in the first period entirely. Face off to the left of Consolino in the defensive zone of Last Dance. They win it. Eki gets it back cleanly to Lundstrom, but not able to get out of their own zone. A turnover. That's a shot on net, stick the side by Consolino. Eki moving it over to Nicky Dangles. Nicky Dangles, pass in front. Alonso had a chance at it, but hit the side of the cage. Lundstrom possessing it in the neutral zone now. Moves it past the blue line. Giving it up to... He shot on, glove side, saved by Kazu. Approaching the 3.5-minute mark now. As a breakaway for Bobby. Backhand saved by Consolino. How good has Consolino been today? He'll have to answer the call again here potentially. As EXEN in the offensive zone, but turned over. Nicky Dangles with it, moving it up to Yamal. Yamal, the man, one-timer over to Lundstrom, saved by Kazu. Both goaltenders stepping up here once again. Approaching the 1-minute mark. Fast minute here in the second period, so going to be closer to 30 seconds. As Yamal, the man, at the right boards. Moves it over to Nicky Dangles, but turned over. EXEN now trying to counterattack. 5 seconds left. Pass across. Save made. Another chance. Puck loose in front. Oh, a chance from Bobby. But a nice job there from Puanzo to pick up that puck before he could get to it. And that will do it for period 2. 40 minutes through. And it's Last Dance holding on to a 3-1 lead. Similarly to how they did in game number 1. A 2-goal advantage after 40 minutes. Kazu playing well for EXEN, but the offense not there to pair with it so far. Despite a pretty fair amount of chances, just not able to break their way past Consolino, who so far has about 9 or 10 saves. With that one right there being one of them, that breakaway attempt by Bobby. Consolino reading it all the way through. Bobby going to that backhand, and he was right there for it. You can see the stats there. 10 saves for Kazu so far. 10 saves for Consolino. The difference, the 1 goal allowed compared to the 3. And let's give EXEN their credit. They have played significantly better than what I think we saw from them in game number 1. At this time in game 1, they only had 4 shots on net, already up to a fair 11. Even have more time on attack than the Last Dance team that, as we've talked about, loves to play the possession game, but again, just not able to break through Consolino and not able to find that puck in the back of the net. They'll have 1 more period of regulation to try to do it. As we're underway with period number 3. Bobby with a chance there, trying to split the defenders, but poke checked away there at the last minute. Monster moving it forward for last dance. Turned over. Picardy gets it and gives it over to Bobby. Lost that on the right boards, and Eki gets it and will slow down. Turned over in their own end, but last dance able to recover that puck. Nicky dangles up the boards with speed. Looking for some space and goes back to Yamal at the point. Yamal shot on, blocked in front. EXEN trying to counter here. Hermu to Bobby. Bobby, pass it, save made there on the one-time shot. That was Hermu. Poncelino up to 11 saves now today. There's another chance, shot and tipped in front, saved again, another shot, another save for Poncelino. And he's not going to take any chances this time. He'll hold on and freeze for a face-off. How good is Poncelino? When we talked about him earlier, coming in today, he was only at a 73.4% save percentage. Well below his usual numbers through 8 games of play, but you would not think it with the way he has played here so far today. I guess he just was waiting for the bright lights of the broadcast to really step up. He's done that and then some so far. There's a shot on, another save there from who else? Poncelino. EXEN still trying the pressure here. Bobby breaks it past the blue line. Still at full pressure, but it's about to die down here. Domi, one-time shot to Wenger, but blocked in front. Still pushing here is EXEN in the offensive end, but turned over. And last dance finally get it out. As an offside called as Puanzo was bumped past the blue line before he wanted to skate there. .11:42 to go here in regulation. Last dance clinging to that 2-goal lead. They have yet to really even enter the offensive zone so far in this period. They do now. Eki with it. Over at the right corner. Moves it up to the point. Lundstrom to Puanzo. To Nicky Dangles. To Eki behind the net, but turned over. Wenger skating forward and gives it to Picardy. In the offensive zone, evading some defenders and gives it back to the point. Wenger to Domi to Hermu. Hermu trying to pass it. Looking for an option. Finds its way back, and a penalty going to be called here against last dance. So a power play coming up here for EXEN. Remember, they had a 5-on-3 earlier, but were not able to capitalize. 0 for 2 so far in this game. 1 for 3 on the day. Is that penalty going to be going against Yamal Demand? We'll head to the box for 2 minutes. And an all-important power play opportunity here for EXEN. Down by 2. Already over halfway through this third and final frame. As a defensive zone face-off won by last dance. Nicky Dangles giving it back to Eki, who will slap that one away and clear it out. As, whoa, Kazu almost saw that one squeak past him. That would not have made him happy. I wouldn't blame him, but a turnover from EXEN on the breakout. Nice drop there from Eki as he'll retreat after that rush was disrupted, but EXEN now going down the other end. Wenger with it at the point to Picardy, shot blocked in front, puck still loose. Oh, actually it was fouled by Poncelino, excuse me. He'll hold on to freeze it. That's why I'm not an ECL League goalie. Poncelino didn't lose track of that puck, but I did. As we want to thank Blackbirds for the raid. Fellow ECL Elite Division team here having a nice start to their first season. The defending Pro Division champions. Coming into today in the top 8 in a playoff spot in 2 weeks. Or 2 weeks through the season. Be interesting to see how their games went today as a few different teams and series going on throughout the Elite Division, including the one on your screen as a breakaway here for Eki. Can't get the shot off. He was bumped off from behind before he could really get a breakaway look there on Kazu. As we are back to even strength, EXEN now 0 for 3 on the power play in this game. Last dance in the offensive zone, looking for their first shot of the period. Not able to get it here. EXEN running out of time. Picardy with it, shot hits the back of the, or hits the side of the net rather on the backhand attempt. Jamal gives it over to Puanzo as Turned over and picked up by EXEN, who will dump that forward. Bobby wins the race to the puck, tried to get that quick shot on net. It's not going to be a registered shot, but it did hit off of Hanselinho. As Last Dance going to draw a penalty there. A tripping going to be called against EXEN with less than a minute remaining, and that feels like that's got to be a dagger to the heart for EXEN's comeback hopes, as it'll be Peakerty, the centerman, heading to the box. As you can see, just trying to go for that puck on the poke check and caught the skates of Gamal the man. Last Dance power play coming up with 52 seconds remaining. They hold a 2-goal lead and control it in the offensive zone. Puck moved down behind the net. Nicky Dangles to Jamal. Shot on there from Lundstrom. Saved off the mask of Kazu. Aki with a one-time shot and they score! Nicky Dangles yet again! And if it wasn't in doubt, that one right there was the kill shot for Last Dance. Nicky Dangles with yet another goal, his second of the game, his fourth of the day. And Last Dance stretched their lead out even further. .6 seconds remaining, and another power play goal for Last Dance, their fourth in this series. They came in at just 14.3% on the man advantage. And all of a sudden, they have come in and have opened up the floodgates on the power play. An offensive zone face-off here coming up for Last Dance, just 27 seconds to go. As a shot tipped in front from Eki. Swept aside by Kazu. You got to feel for Kazu, absolutely phenomenal throughout this game and really throughout this series. Not going to get the result that he likely deserved. But again, it's been the story for EXEN the last 2 seasons. Just lack of offense, great defense, great goaltending, but no goal scoring to pair with it. As the final buzzer sounds, and Last Dance, the clean sweep, 6 out of 6 points, a 4-1 victory in game number 2. As they continue to march on here in the ECL 25 spring season, their 10th game, and they're already up to 24 points in the standings, still trailing Mythics by 2 points for that number 1 spot, but nevertheless, still finding their way to wins. And Last Dance finding a way. It wasn't always pretty in this game. They had to withstand a lot of pressure, but a nice job there from Last Dance, just doing what they needed to do, holding on, and then that final goal there from Nicky Dangles in the last minute, taking their lead from 2-3 to really kill off any chances that EXEN had at a potential comeback. And as we talked about with EXEN, just continuing to struggle early on in the season. They've had some solid games in terms of the defense and in terms of the goaltending, but they just have not been able to put it all together. Things just have not clicked for this team over the last season and a half, and they're still looking to find the answers. As they come out of this series with no points, they're 8 games into their season, but gonna have to move on and turn the page. As we'll bring you back into the booth. Brandon Bigsby with you. Last Dance with a clean sweep here in this one. A 4-2 victory in game number 1 and a 4-1 victory in game number 2. They collect all 6 points as we will now move forward into our second series of our broadcast coverage here today, as Vapor, formerly Tiki Talk, will face off against Tohtorit, a couple of teams that were really impressive last season. Tohtorit, who ended up finishing second in the season, going up against a Vapor team that missed the playoffs just barely and are looking to push forward. We'll have the preview and all the lineups and everything for you right after this break, so do not go away. We'll hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we will have Vapor versus Tohtorit on the other side.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from Wellnet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.
lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Thank you for sticking with us. We are back as we get set for our second series of our coverage here today as Vapor go up against Tohtorit. Again, two teams that were in this division a season ago. Vapor just outside of that playoff cut line, formerly Tiki Talk, had that brand change over the offseason, while Tohtorit, coming off of their best season in their history in the Elite Division, finished second in the regular season standings, made it all the way to the semifinals before falling to Mustakota. Going to be a lot of fun to see these two teams go head-to-head, as Vapor has only played 4 games. Tohtorit have played 8, but are struggling a little bit out the gate. So it'll be interesting to see how things shape up. Let's take a quick look at the standings just to see how things have changed. As we mentioned, there's been a couple of games going in between here and there. Obviously, our series that we just finished covering between Last Dance and EXEN. Last Dance moving just 2 points within the Mythics there, as you can see there, both of them with 10 games played. Mythics with 26 points, Last Dance with 24, and I know Vapor was happy to see Last Dance take both of those games against EXEN, because the team in front of Vapor, EXEN, at that 14th spot. So Vapor, with just 4 games played, a lot of opportunity to collect some points. We'll see if they can do so against a Tohtorit team who, as of now, as you mentioned, struggling a little bit out the gate compared to last season especially, holding on to that 8th and final playoff spot. Again, still early, too early to really see what the playoff picture is going to really look like when things are getting hot and heavy, but kind of gives you a bit of a look in terms of the way things are trending. And right now, Tohtorit, already 10 games played, will be 12 after today. That'll be tied with Polsky Boys for the most, so losing chances to collect points. They're going to need to try to do so here against a Vapor team that, as we mentioned, sitting at that 15th spot as of now. Let's take a look at the team matchup to see how these two sides have stacked up against each other. And again, the stats are going to be pretty heavily skewed towards Tohtorit just because they've played 10 games compared to Vapor's 4, but you can kind of at least get a look at how these two sides have looked so far, right? And I think the big story is just the difference in Tohtorit and how they have struggled a bit out the gate. Again, this was a team that started out so hot. Each of the last 2 seasons, they were in contention for the number 1 seed in each of those last 2 years, and this season, it just hasn't been there. Something's been a little bit off. They returned all 6 starters from their team a season ago, and I mean, they've played some pretty solid teams, but at the same time, has also played some teams that I don't think a lot of people had as playoff teams coming in. 2 teams that are completely new to the division in Nova and SSK Esports, they split with. They were swept by Mythics. They were swept by Polsky Boys, and really, they're still trying to kind of find their groove. While for Vapor, as we mentioned, a team that has only played 4 games, but each of those 4 games decided by 1 goal, 2 of those in overtime. They also played the teams that are 1 and 2 in the standings in Mythics and Last Dance. So going to be interesting to see these two teams going up against each other. Vapor trying to get their first win and have played some tough competition. Tohtorit trying to kind of get their rhythm going. Take a look at the starting lineups now for both of these two sides. Starting out with Vapor over on the left side. As the forward trio, JM at left wing, Zuvi at center, and Niepi at right wing. Niepi making his return after a bit of an absence for a few seasons. Back on defense will be Savanainen at left defense and Pinsamis at right D, and in between the pipes will be Baise. While for Tohtorit, as you mentioned, all 6 starters from last season's team returning for them this season. The typical forward trio of Oyala at left wing, Ristamaiki at center, and Profilipaki at right wing, while the defensive pair of Carcass at the left side and Sega Stormy on the right. And your reigning goaltender of the season during the winter in Stammer going to be manning the pipes for this Tohtorit team. Let's take you position by position, starting out with the centers, as we always do. It's a couple of familiar names in the Elite Division, as Zuvi for Vapor going up against Ristimaiki. For Tohtorit, Ristimaiki only playing 2 of the games for Tohtorit so far this season, but somebody that we have seen be a familiar face throughout the season or throughout the years, rather. Someone that has played well, has been a part of this Tohtorit core for a long time, even won the Pro Division title with this team back in the ECL 22 season, or the ECL 22 spring season, rather. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how he steps up with this team, only playing those 2 games against a center in Zuvi, who, as we mentioned, experience, always seems to step up, was a great addition for this Vapor team over the offseason. 3 goals in his 4 games played. Going to be a lot of fun to see how these two match up against one another. Now for the wingers, transitioning over to that. And again, a lot of familiar names. We're going to see a lot of names in the Elite Division that we typically call throughout the last few years. For Vapor, it's JM and Niepi. JM, one of the former pieces of a Polski boys team that won a title in the Pro Division, while Niepi, someone that you would remember from IQ back in the day, kind of took a break for the last few seasons. We haven't seen him very often, but is back with this team this season. And so far, not too bad in his return. 3 points in 4 games played. That is second on this team, only behind Zuvi, as we mentioned, who has led this team so far this season. Also as a former teammate of Zuvi as well, from when they were with Voxio Lakers, so a little bit of chemistry between those two. And then Oya and Filipaki, Pro Filipaki, who both have played together for a long time, have been long-time pieces to this Tohtorit team that has had this ascent over the last couple of years. We talked about that Pro Division Championship a couple of years ago, and have kind of kept their way up in the Elite Division, have steadily improved every year. Last season made the semifinals. Those 2 on the right side of your screen have been a big part of that. Oyula a little bit better in terms of the stats. 19 points in 10 games played, 10 goals as well. Pro Filipaki not too shabby with 14 points, but you just feel like there's just something missing right now with this Tohtorit team. Those 2 are going to have to help lead the charge for this group if they want to find their way forward. They're averaging 2.5 goals for per game, this Tohtorit team. That's 7th in the division. Really, it's been the play in their own end, which has been a struggle, which we will talk about as we transition over to the defense. Tohtorit averaging 3 goals allowed for per game in their 10 games so far. Vapor, not too shabby, actually pretty darn good on the defensive side. 2.25 goals allowed for per game. That ranks 5th in the division. Again, a little bit skewed because they've played less games, but when you keep count that they've played the 2 top teams in Mythics and Last Dance, 2 teams that are averaging 3.5 goals for per game and 3.25 goals for per game, that's both top 5 in the division. So they've been able to hold 2 of the division's best offense to rather modest numbers. Savanainen and Pensimes both having really admirable starts to their season. While again, Carcass, Sega Stormy, 2 experienced defenders. They've played together for plenty of time. You know they're going to get it going. Carcass, someone to look out for as well. Somebody that led the league last season in time with possession, or time with the puck rather. He's going to be active on the offensive end, but again, I think it's really going to be that defense and that play in their own end that Tohtorit is really going to want to hone in on, especially against a Vapor team that we haven't seen a whole lot of, has made some lineup changes, a bit of a different looking team from the Tiki Talk team that we saw just a season ago with this Vapor branding. And last but not least, the starting goalies for each of our 2 sides. And once again, Bisay over on the left side, his first action of the season for Vapor, while on the other end, it's Stammer, who, as we alluded to earlier, one goaltender of the season a season ago, was absolutely stellar for this Tohtorit team. Really has been for a while. How about this? He has never played, whether it's ECL, whether it's eHockey SM, whether it's FCL, Stammer has never played for another team other than Tohtorit. That is an extremely rare thing to see in the ECL. I would love to know the stat on how many players have played multiple seasons, more than 3 seasons, and have not played under a different team, under a different name. Stammer has always been the guy in net for this Tohtorit team throughout the years. Last season, it went all the way to the point to an 86 save percentage, starting every single game and winning goaltender of the season for the first time in his career. This season, a bit of a step back with that 78.6 save percentage, but when you have a guy like Stammer, you know he has that ability. He didn't just lose his magic touch all of a sudden. He still has that ability, will step up, and will be a key factor today. And as he mentioned, Bise, his first action of the season coming in for Gressu, who played those first 4 games, had a 78 save percentage in those games. But Bise, someone that has some experience, someone that you think really can step up and make something happen, was one of the goalies for Tiki Talk in the Elite Qualifier a season ago, helped them find their way in at an 84.9 save percentage to help Tiki Talk qualify for that Elite Division. Is a big reason that they got to this point, and he's going to get the nod here today against a tough Tohtorit squad, as we are just a few moments away from getting our action underway, as we see both teams in the lobby and ready to go. Tohtorit over to the left side, Vapor over to the right. So it's going to be interesting. Again, 2 teams that are in very different places. Vapor, a non-playoff team that are trying to push their way there. Tohtorit, a team that are a championship contender. We're expected to be a championship contender. So far, starting out, have not necessarily lived up to that billing to start the season. So some big points on the line. 6 points between these 2 sides. We'll see which side will be able to take those points home here in a matter of seconds. Brandon Bigsby, B Major, with you on the call. Thank you all for joining us here today. It has been a fun week of action. Had a couple of great series in the Elite Division on Monday. Yesterday was our Pro Division coverage, and started out today with a fun series between EXEN and Last Dance. I saw Last Dance take both of those games in regulation, a 4-2 and a 4-1 victory. We'll see if this series can live up to that same billing to end off our coverage for the week. We'll have 2 games between these 2. We are watching from the perspective of Tohtorit. They are wearing the all-black uniforms, while Vapor in their white and greens, as we are underway for game number 1 between Vapor and Tohtorit. This is Sega Stormy with possession, trying to move it up to Profilipaki, but could not find him cleanly, as Savanainen takes it up and finds JM over at the right side. Moving it behind the net. Lost and picked up by Profilipaki, and now here come Tohtorit down the other end. Ristamikey with it. The right corner, moves it up to the point to Sega Stormy. Now to Carcass, a one-time shot, saved by Bise. Vapor now looking to go down the other end. The shot on there from JM was blocked in front, and now here comes Tohtorit on the counterattack. Filipaki with space up the right side. 4-pass for a shot, one-timer, score! Marcus at the left point puts it through, and Tohtorit starting out hot with a goal just a few minutes into the first period. And we talked about Carcass, his ability to contribute to this team offensively, led the league in time with the puck last season. His first goal of the spring campaign right there. He came in with 12 points, all of them being assists, obviously, and this time he says, I got it, I'll put the puck in myself. Does so on that one-timer, and Tohtorit starts out with that goal, a 1-0 lead, not even 5 minutes into this series. And a delayed penalty going to be called against Vapor. A shot on from the point from Sega Stormy, saved by Bise, is a charging call going to go against JM, the left winger of Vapor. So not the start that Vapor wanted to see. 3 quick shots on net, all of them rather dangerous. A goal allowed. Now a power play opportunity for Tohtorit on top of all of that. As Zuvi and Ristamikey line up for the faceoff, it's one in the defensive zone by Vapor. That'll be cleared out by Savanainen, but Tohtorit pick it right back up and will not lose too much time on this power play. Oila over to Ristamikey. Now the Carcass at the point, skating forward. Gives it to Profilipaki, back to Carcass. Shot on, tipped in front, and they score! Ristamikey camped out in front and beats Bise on that tip play. And Tohtorit on the man advantage, double their lead to 2. As you get another look at it there, just a tip high and over the right shoulder of Bise. And this is a Tohtorit team that came in at 25% on the man advantage, so rather respectable. First power play goal of the season allowed by Vapor. And all of a sudden, just 6 minutes and 17 seconds in, Tohtorit up by a pair. And Vapor just looking for any sort of momentum to try to shift things in their direction as Tohtorit on the rush, but an offside's called. You just feel like this is exactly the start that Tohtorit needed to have. We mentioned the slow start to their season, 3-2-5 coming into today. Clinging on to that 8th spot in the standings. Remember, the top 8 at the end of the season make the playoffs. Teams 9 through 12 are secured for the Elite Division. 13, 14, and 15 have to play a relegation series, and the team that finishes last in the standings automatically relegated into the Pro Division for next season. So Tohtorit, a team that, again, have become a playoff staple the last couple of seasons, looking to improve their standing. They're off to a good start here with a 2-0 lead halfway through the opening period of game number 1. Vapor in the offensive zone, struggling to really find much of anything. A shot from the point, saved by Stammer. First shot on net registered today by Vapor. It's Ristamikey with possession in the offensive zone for Tohtorit. Marcus at the high left point moves it to Oyala. Trying to find Ristamikey down the middle, but it's deflected and picked off. Vapor now trying to find something on the counterattack, but Carcass puts a stop to it right in its tracks. Stormy slaps that one in the offensive zone. Ristamikey finds it. And looking for a pass. Goes to Carcass at the point, back to Ristamikey. Now to Sega Stormy, trying to give it over to Oyala, but that pass picked off there by Dieppe. Getting possession back, however, for a moment. Now Ninen controlling it here for Vapor, and an offsides called. And that pass attempt over to Zuvi. I feel like Vapor kind of struggling to really find a whole lot at the moment. Not a lot of offensive zone time, not a whole lot of shots on net. Tohtorit just controlling the pace of play right now as past the 5-minute mark here in period 1. Tohtorit a 2-0 lead. 4 shots on net for them compared to just the 1 of Vapor. Pensames gives it up over to JM. JM at the point, back to Pensames. And a shot on, they score! The pass in front to JM finds its way into the back of the net. And it is a 2-1 game now. Vapor, the exact response that they needed to have. As you get a closer look at it there, just kind of turning, rotating, passing it up to the point, and then that pass back over to JM, a little tic-tac-toe between Pensames and his opposite side winger. And he beat Stammer right through that underarm blocker side. And Vapor, that one not just in their name, but now on the scoreboard as well. A 2-1 lead for Tohtorit. But Vapor cutting that lead in half there in the latter stages of this period. Tohtorit trying to get their 2-goal lead back, but not going to there. As a nice defensive play there made by Vapor. Tohtorit getting it back, and Carcass holding in his own end. Pressure there put on by Dieppe, but Tohtorit able to break past it and in the offensive zone. Oyala giving it down low. Back from Profilipaki to Oyala, but the shot not on net. In a minute remaining now. Vapor working it in the offensive zone. Found by Carcass in the left corner board, and he moves it up. 15 seconds now. Vapor take over in the neutral zone. JM with it at the point. 4 seconds. One-time shot blocked by Oyala. And a shot on there from afar. Not going to count, as that will do it for the opening frame of this series between Vapor and Tohtorit. Tohtorit with the hot start, 2 goals in the first 4 minutes of this game. But Vapor able to find one late to cut that Tohtorit lead in half. A 2-1 score for the opening 20 minutes of play. As you can see, the goal right there from Carcass to open things up. But then Vapor able to find a Nice little play of their own from the left side of the ice to make things a little bit tighter. As we'll get another look at that goal from JM. As you can see, just had a little bit of space there in that high slot, just kind of moves forward. A little bit of traffic in front there with Sega Sormi in front of it, but not able to do enough to stop that one from finding Stammer on net. And it leads to the goal, and he had that tip play from Rista Mikey in front. That was the second goal of the day there from Tohtorit on the power play. And you had that one-time shot from Carcass that started out the scoring. And that's how we get here. A 2-1 Tohtorit lead heading into the second period. We want to thank our amazing sponsors over on Tohtorit, as well as Game Changer. A big thank you to them for their support of the ECL and of SportsGamer. There's a chance here for Tohtorit. Shot on, saved by Baise. As numbers for Vapor, 3-on-2. JM with his shot on, he scores! Oh, what a snipe from JM! And Vapor tie this thing up at 2. As we'll get a look at the replay. And I think that Tohtorit thought what many were thinking. I think he thought that JM was maybe going to try to pass that for that cross crease. That's the play you typically see in that situation. But nah. JM saying, I got this, guys. Moves in towards the slot, rips that one on net, able to beat Stammer clean as a whistle on that play. Second goal of the game there for JM, and all of a sudden, Tohtorit from 2-0 up to a 2-2 scoreline. Another quick goal to start out a period here. This time it's Vapor. That's the beneficiary of it. They have possession now in the neutral zone. Zuvi looking to move forward, but turned over. A nice pick off there from Mr. Mikey. Oyala with it. Shot on! He scores right between the legs of Baise. And Tohtorit respond in a hurry and retake their lead. As you can see, just using the speed, beating the defense of Vapor. And Oyala, he's the gold helmet wearer for a reason. That is worn by the team's leader in points. Oyala had 19 in 10 games coming into today, as well as 10 goals. Leads his team in goals and points and assists. Or excuse me, actually second in assists behind Carcass, pardon me. But able to find that goal to give Tohtorit their lead back. A 3-2 score. 2 goals once again in the first 5 minutes of a period. First 4 minutes even. As we now approach the 5-minute mark here. 15 minutes to play in period 2. Tohtorit in the offensive zone. As Carcass trying to give it over to Oyala for another goal, but broken up. Tohtorit now with it in the neutral zone and move past the blue line. Profilipaki back to the point to Sega Sormi. Over to Rista Mikey. Backhand shot blockered away by Baise. Vapor on the break in here. Finds the Yappy. Back to Pentamies at the point. Delayed penalty going to be called, and looks like Vapor going to head on the power play. A tripping call going to go against Rista Mikey. As it was right there, and boy, that stick went flying up in the air. Vapor, a power play opportunity coming up. First time we will have seen them on the man advantage today. Vapor so far this season have not had a power play goal. Again, they've only played in 4 games. To read on the penalty kills, 61.5%. One of the lowest marks that he'll find in the league right now. Only Nova and EXEN with better penalty kill with worse penalty kill numbers so far. As Oyala with some space and some speed up the left boards. Killing off some time here as a quick little shot on. Nothing too dangerous, but say able to get to it. As Vapor with a pretty uneventful power play so far. Not a shot on net, and we're already down to 10 seconds remaining on it. There's a chance there, hits the side of the net. It's JM. As Rista Mikey now out of the box, and that power play All for naught for Vapor. Not a shot on net. Really no opportunities. Very little zone time. As Tohtorit, a struggling penalty kill, able to get a victory there. Trying to move it in the offensive zone, but that play disrupted. Here comes Vapor on the counterattack, trying to get it over to Niepi, but the pass was disrupted. As a breakaway here from Rista Mikey, giving up a move, but a nice play there from Zuvi on the back check to break up that play. JM up the left boards. Bump from behind, but finds 7-9 behind him. Vapor still forced to reset in the neutral zone. 6 minutes to play here in period 2. Tohtorit holding on to a 1-goal lead as Niepi trying to move forward, but an offside's called. Neutral zone face-off coming up here. Mr. Mikey and Zuvi at the face-off dot. One clean lead by Rista Mikey and turned over almost immediately, but he's able to get it back for his team. Tohtorit now in the offensive zone. Oila backhand shot goes wide. Carcass at the point. Trying to wiggle his way for some space. Battled for over in the left boards and found first by Vapor. Tied up at the boards. Still a scrum for a shot on from Carcass. Another shot from Oila. That one saved by Baise. Had to be sharp on that one. Vapor looking to get out of their own zone. Lots of pressure from Tohtorit, and they're not able to. It's a one-time shot, and they score! Oila, the captain for this Tohtorit team, finds the score sheet yet again. And it's just like that comeback never happened. Tohtorit back up by 2. As you get another look at it, Oila at that low left face-off circle. A lot of open cage there with how quickly that play developed. Baise just not able to skate over towards that right post quick enough to stop it. And Tohtorit back up by 2. Just 3 minutes remaining here in period 2 is a chance for Vapor to respond, but that pass goes awry. And Tohtorit now working down the other end. Oila here once again with possession. A pair of goals for him already. The other 2 goals, one being from Rista Mikey, the other being from Carcass, who controls the puck. Now a shot on, blockered away by Baise. That was Carcass that put that one on net. Approaching the 1 minute mark. Fast minute here in the second period. It's not going to be a lot of time for either side really to operate. Tohtorit, nice defensive play in their own zone, and they'll take it into the neutral side of things as Carcass is going to slow this down. Taking his time, evaluating his options. Turned over. Zuvi, shot on, saved by Stammer, and that will do it for period 2. Tohtorit, they surrendered their 2-goal lead, but were able to earn it back. A 4-2 advantage for them as, oh, captain, my captain, Oila, with a pair of goals there in that period to lead his Tohtorit team back out in front. As you got a quick peek at the stats there. It didn't take long, but many of it in favor of Tohtorit. 11 shots compared to 3 for Vapor. As you get another look at the one-time goal there from Oila. That was the first one-time goal there that he had. And you get a look at him just charging right in front of that net. Looked like more of a pass attempt than a shot, but you earn that positioning, you get on the rush like that, and you have that time and space. You give yourself the opportunity to get a lucky bounce, and that was what happened there. It's off the pad of Baise and finds its way into the back of the net. A 4-2 lead for Tohtorit heading into the final period of regulation. We want to make sure we thank our sponsors once again, COVID on Not Gonna See. Well, it's Game Change. You see their logos on the top right of your screen. Make sure you go check them out, support them the way they support us here. Tohtorit in the offensive zone. Turned over, and now Vapor working down the other end. Niepi giving over to Zuvi, puck in front, but picked up by Sega Stormy for Tohtorit. Patient effort here from the defenders of Sega Sormi and Carcass. They move it up. Profilipaki holding and giving back to Sega Sormi. Shot on, potentially tipped in front, but blocked actually by Zuvi. Vapor takes over possession. Turned over in the neutral zone and found by Ristimaiki, and an offside going to be called as he was still past the blue line when Profilipaki picked that up. Face off in the neutral zone coming up here. 15:44 to go in the third period. Won by Vapor. They work it in the neutral zone. Pensime's controlling it. Getting up to Niepi at the right boards, but turned over. Nice defensive play there made by Oyula. We know what he's been doing offensively. Flexing some of the defensive muscles there on that play. Sormi in control of it for Tohtorit. Turned over, pick off there by Savanainen. Gives it up to Pensimes. Circling around the high right point, skates forward and had an opportunity there. Looks like that will be a registered shot on net, but no real danger there for Stammer. How about this? Just his second save of the game. 4 shots on net for Vapor. We approach 50 minutes into this game right now. As a one-timer from Profilipaki, blocked in front. Not a lot of power on that shot. As Vapor now take over possession. Niepi holding on to it despite being hounded by both Oyula and Carcass. Vapor able to escape it. Shot on, hits the post. Vapor still pushing it in the offensive end. Another shot from Niepi, gloved away by Stammer. And he'll stop play and freeze it. With 9:40 to go here in regulation, Vapor trying to saw their way into this lead, down by 2. After a pair of unanswered goals from Tohtorit, both of them off of the stick of Oyula, the captain of this Tohtorit side. As Vapor able to force the turnover, and now they look to move it forward. They do for a moment, but stopped right in their tracks by Sega Sormi. Carcass controlling it now for Tohtorit. Can move it forward and does to Oyula. Ristimaiki now with it. Over at the right boards, finds Sega Sormi. To Oyula, to Ristimaiki. Goes behind the net to Profilipaki and back up to the point to Carcass. Carcass pushing forward at that lefty spot. Shot on from the high slot from Oyula. Not going to find the net. It was blocked in front. And here comes Vapor down the other side. JM, he has both goals for Vapor. It's a one-time shot from the point from Pensimi, saved by Stammer. Another shot blocked in front. Sega Sormi just getting that out of danger, but still in the offensive zone. JM at the corner. Gives it up to Sivan, and a shot on from the point from Pensimes again, saved again by Stammer. And here comes Oyula for Tohtorit. Too much pressure, however, 1-on-2. And Vapor, their defensive efforts going to be rewarded with a power play after they picked up that puck. Ristimaiki heading to the box for the second time today. As you can see, he got tied up, put in a headlock there by Zuvi. Maybe a little MMA influence there. Not sure exactly what happened. Definitely wasn't intentional, but nevertheless, a tough break there for Tohtorit, going to lead to a power play opportunity for Vapor, a much needed one at that. Vapor so far today, 0 for 1 on the power play, didn't get as much as a shot on net. The first time they were on the man advantage is, I think we're going to get a look at the replay, and yeah. I'm not really sure what more Ristamaiki's supposed to do there, but it looked like him and Zui just kind of got tangled up, and maybe Ristimaiki pushing up on the right stick and it counted as an interference, but nevertheless, one team's disadvantage is another's advantage. As Vapor going to have the man advantage. Power play shot on was saved on that one-timer. Stammer starting to stand tall here for Tohtorit. Another shot, another save by Stammer. Tohtorit will be able to clear this out. A minute to go here on the Vapor power play. A much better looking power play than their one earlier on in this game. Tohtorit able to clear it out once again, this time in the neutral zone. Savanainen working it forward for Vapor. Lots of space as he gets past the blue line cleanly. To JM, back to Savanainen, but he couldn't pick up that puck. And that's likely going to kill off the remainder of this man advantage as Ristimaiki will come out of the box, and we are back to even strength. Less than 2 minutes remaining here in the third period. That was a critical penalty kill for Tohtorit. Perfect 2 for 2 for a team that came in with the third lowest PK percentage in the division. As a shot on, they score! Zuvi on the rebound! And hold on, folks, we are not done yet. 58 seconds left, and Vapor have slimmed this lead back down to 1. As the first shot on net doesn't go, but he gets that second chance look, crashing the net. Puts it past Stammer. And all of a sudden, things have gotten a little more interesting. Vapor making this a 4-3 scoreline, a full 58.9 seconds here coming up. Can they find another, or can Tohtorit hold on? Vapor have it in the offensive zone. Savanainen at the point. Takes his time. Gives it up. One-time shot from Vapor, saved by Stammer. That was JM that got that shot off. Tohtorit working in the offensive zone. 38 seconds remaining. Oila with it at the left boards, trying to dump it down low, but it's picked off by Zuvi. Here come Vapor. 30 seconds to go. Turned over as they cross the blue line. Rista Mikey with the pick, but he turned it over in his own end. Zuvi tried to feed it back, but Oila picks it off. 22 seconds now. Oila taking his time, but it's turned over again in their own end. Tohtorit struggling to find it. One-time shot saved by Stammer. And he'll freeze it with 14.6 to play. Tohtorit struggling right now to get out of their own end. And a defensive zone face-off here coming up for them. To left of Stammer. Won by Vapor. Niepi finds Pensamis. 7 seconds. Puck loose on the side of the net. Stammer is able to get to it. And we'll have one more face-off with 5.7 seconds to play. All important here for Rista Mikey and Zuvi. To the left of Stammer. Won by Vapor. Shot on, blockered away by Stammer. One last chance for Vapor, and they're not going to get a shot off. That will do it. Tohtorit hold on. A 4-3 win over Vapor in regulation. A few critical saves there by Stammer in the final minutes. Oila, the captain, with a pair of goals that turned out to be the all-important ones, including the game winner that was that one-time shot you see now on your screen. The fourth goal was the decider, and Tohtorit with a much-needed win. 4-3 victory over a Vapor team that are still looking to get their first victory on the season. One of 2 teams yet to capture a win so far this season. Granted, they've only played 5 games this season, obviously. The other team being the Blackjacks, who have only played 2 games, but still looking to find that first win. As Tohtorit pick up a critical 3 points. We talked about their situation. 10 games in, only 3 total wins, only 2 of them in regulation. They've had 5 overtime losses. They've lost a lot of close ones. That's why they have 13 points in the standings, despite having 10 games played in just 2 regulation wins. But that was a much-needed one right there. And they get the job done and hold on there in the final minute, despite a last push there late by Vapor towards the final minute. You got to look at all of the goals that we saw. That first opening goal there from Carcass. His first of the season, 13th point as well for him. One of the leading point getters for all defensemen in the division coming into today. And you see why, not just because of what he can do in scoring, but what he can create. That shot in front was tipped by Rista Mikey, who was camped out there, got that over the shoulder of Baise and found his way in. But Vapor, despite being down 2-0, were able to charge their way back. That goal from JM right under the arm of Stammer towards the end of the first period, and then just moments into the second period of play, JM working its way through the defense just beat Stammer clean over on that glove side, about as pure of a snipe as you'll find, to tie things up at 2 apiece. But Tohtorit, they came right back and got 2 goals of their own, and You need somebody to step up. Who better than the man or woman that wears a C on their chest? It was Oyula. He rushed his way down those left boards, was able to beat the Vapor defense, and a pass attempt hit his way off of the right pad, and this right here was the game winner. The one-time shot from Oyula over at that left side. Beating Baise clean, giving Tohtorit that fourth goal that ended up being the game winner. And it was a nice effort there from Vapor at the end. Zuvi with a goal with 58.9 seconds remaining. Rebound shot, was able to beat Stammer. But Vapor was not able to have a fourth goal in them. They fall 4-3 in regulation. A big win for Tohtorit, as we will bring you back into the studio. Thank you, by the way, to the streamer there. We were watching from Tohtorit's viewpoint. Big thank you to them for showing all of those goals to kind of give us a recap there. Very considerate of them to do that. Always so nice when the teams help us out here on the broadcast and make our jobs a little bit easier, help us put on a fun and enjoyable show for you guys watching at home. We're going to have one more game here on tap for our broadcast coverage here today. Vapor trying to see if they can squeak out a series split versus Tohtorit, or if Tohtorit can keep the momentum going after a 4-3 regulation victory there in game number one. We're going to take a break, hear a word from our sponsors, and have our fourth and final game of the day on tap right after this. Don't go away. We'll be right back with action right after the break.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from Wellnet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
These teams wasting no time, and I thank them for it because I want to get right back to the action after that fun game number one. Tohtorit with a 4-3 regulation victory, and now we'll re-rack it and go again for our fourth and final game of our broadcast coverage here today. Brandon B. Major Bigsby with you on the call. Yes, we are once again watching from perspective of Tohtorit. They're in their road whites while Vapor in their home blacks, as they're in the offensive zone right now, moving it around. Zuvi gives it back over to the point to Savanainen. Trying to work it into the middle of the slot, but it's picked off, and here comes Tohtorit. A nice pass over to Profilipaki. Makes a move, spin, and he scores! Oh, rack that up on the highlight reel. Profilipaki puts him on spin cycle, puts it in the back of the net, and Tohtorit with a 1-0 score early here in this game once again. And how about the move from Profilipaki? Spinning, twirling, beating the defender over towards the slot. Nothing Vapor could do to keep up with him there. And just a little bit over 2 minutes in, Tohtorit find the opening goal, and they've got a 3-on-2 here. Profilipaki trying to pass it across to Oyola, but couldn't find him. As Vapor are able to get out of their own zone now. Dieppe with it, but lost possession, and Oyola picks it up for Tohtorit. Quick goals in both games. Tohtorit scored their first 2 goals just 5 minutes in the period 1, and they scored their first goal of the game 2 minutes in the period 1 in this one. Vapor trying to find a response here. Working it behind the net, but picked off by Sega Sormi. Filipaki over to Oyola. Oyola to Sega Sormi. Looking for a shot on net. Gets it, but it's gloved away by Baise. Baise has been strong so far today. I haven't talked too much about him. His first action of the season here today. Vapor in the offensive end, turned over, but they get it back. Zuvi with it, moves it behind the net. JM controls it, had 2 goals in that first game for Vapor. Not able to hold on to it as Tohtorit moved down the other end, but an offside call. Face off to the left side of Stammer. JM had it, couldn't get a shot on, but Zuvi picks it up behind the net, puck loose and found by Oyola. Tohtorit will take things back over to Carcass in his own zone and start the breakout. Oyola trying to dish it over to Profilipaki right side, but couldn't connect, and now Vapor trying to counterattack. Stammer picks that up and will just shoot that one out of harm's way, and it's found by Oyola. So a nice play there off the board. Shot on. Brushed aside there by Baise. Only 3 shots on net for Tohtorit. Another shot there, but goes wide. Mr. Mikey with it over at the right corner. Goes down low to Oyola. Hit from behind. A nice play there from Pensamis behind the net. Laying the lumber there as Oyola still trying to skate back to catch up to its defense. 4 over on the left boards and found by Tohtorit. Past the 8-minute mark here, Tohtorit holding on to a 1-0 lead is turned over, nearly a chance for Vapor to no avail. 2-on-2. Rista Mikey with a pass across, but Oyola could not get the shot on. Hit the side of the cage there despite some open net. Marcus has it. And settled things down here for Tohtorit. Moving his way forward, turned over. Zuvi with the pickoff. Gives it to JM up the left boards. And then Dieppe. One-time shot from Pensamis, saved by Stammer. First shot on goal of the game for Vapor, a dangerous one. And they'll get an offensive zone face-off now coming up. Won by Vapor, one-time shot blocked in front. That was 7-Iden that time. The defenders getting active in the offensive zone for Vapor. Has a chance at a score on the counterattack. Rista Mikey doubles the lead for Tohtorit. It can happen in the blink of an eye in this division with the talent, with the pace. And that play right there, a good example of it. Vapor with a shot on that looked like a good chance, and then Tohtorit take possession, go on the rush, and capitalize on it. As you can take another look at it there, just the little move there from Oyola to find Rista Mikey down the middle. Has enough space to get that through and is able to beat Baise cleanly. And Tohtorit, a 2-0 lead here in the latter stages of this first period. And Vapor all of a sudden in very familiar territory that they were in during the first game. A 2-goal deficit. They were down by 2 goals for the majority of the game, but never down by more than 2. Tohtorit trying to change that here as a one-timer from Sega Sormi at the point. It was gloved away by Baise, and he's not going to take any chances, so An offensive zone face-off now coming up here for Tohtorit, playing some of the best hockey that I think we've seen them play here so far this season. Obviously, you've had a lot of close losses, 5 OT losses this season, as we mentioned earlier. Looking strong here so far, as that shot on was rather easily saved by Baise, and he'll hold on for another stoppage with 3:23 to play here in the opening period. Vapor trying to find their groove here once again, just one shot on net so far in this period. And they're on their heels yet again, but win the defensive zone draw. JM moves it past the blue line. And a penalty going to be called against Tohtorit. So a power play coming up for Vapor. Maybe exactly what the doctor ordered. As, yeah, that was a nice little shove to the face there. As heading to the box will be Tohtorit. That's a penalty going to go against Sega Sormi, and a power play now upcoming for Vapor. 0 for 2 so far today. Looking for their first power play goal of the spring campaign. Can they find it here at a big point? The defenders working it between one another. That's Pensamies and Savanainen. Found the Yappy Zuvi with a quick shot on, but saved off the stick of Stammer. Carcass dumps it out. Now clear things for now as Vapor with a minute remaining on that man advantage. Pensamies moves it in the offensive zone. Tohtorit not able to dump it out. It's a shot from Zuvi, goes well wide, but picked up by JM. To the point, shot in front, was blocked. 20 seconds now on the power play. Yappy, one-time shot there from Pensamies. Blocked again. Vapor with 2 or 3 block shots on that power play, and that'll do it for the man advantage. Another shot blocked in front. What a job by Tohtorit getting in front of these shooting lanes as the puck eventually found its way to Stammer, and he'll freeze it, but Tohtorit blocking, I mean, I counted about 3 block shots, maybe even 4, during that last 3-minute stretch. Is about 5 seconds remaining. Tohtorit with possession. Turning it over in their own end. Yappy's shot, well, guess what? Blocked in front once again. And that will do it for the opening 20 minutes. Tohtorit with a 2-0 advantage over Vapor. Doing everything they need to do, finding the goals and getting the defense and goaltending the match with it. As Vapor trying to coordinate a response, not able to do so with the man advantage despite 4 minutes of time on attack, just 2 shots on net for this Vapor group. As we'll get a look at both goals from that first period. That first one, a beautiful move from Pro Filipaki, spinning and twirling. Looks like he may have traded his skates in for ballerina slippers during the offseason, and they worked out well for him. Nimble feet leads to a goal, and not too far after that, Tohtorit able to create another play for a second goal with Mikey, beating Baise on that quick passing play, and that gave Tohtorit that double goal advantage. We now start the second period. We're gonna make sure to shout out our sponsors once again, Covenantocracy, as well as Game Changer. Make sure you go and show them some love. Check out all of their amazing products. Tohtorit with possession in their own zone. Vapor backing off, not applying much pressure, so a clean break in here for Tohtorit. Turned over at the blue line. Vapor now take over possession. Pensamies with it, giving it over to Zuvi. Up to the point to Savanainen. Now to JM, working behind the net. And goes to Niepi. Now to Pensamies, skates forward, and the Niepi trade places. Spin move from JM and a pass to the point. Shot on there from Niepi, what was saved by Stammer. He'll hold on for the stoppage. Vapor, one of their better opportunities so far of this game right there. Take a look at the big hit there laid on. That was Carcass that laid that lick. Offensive zone draw now for Vapor. Tied up and One in the defensive zone by Tohtorit. So they'll get out of their own end. And here comes Carcass with speed up the right boards. Looking for space. Lots of time. Pass, but picked off there by Savanainen. Excuse me, that was actually Pensames. Pardon me. Pensames with control of it. Passes the blue line, but poke checked away. A breakaway potentially for Pro Filipaki. Nice job by Vapor getting back, but Tohtorit still in the offensive zone. Carcass at the left point. Disrupted by Niepi and turned over. Right winger of Vapor with a nice defensive effort there, and it leads to a chance. Shot on from the point from Savanainen. Saved by Stammer, but still an opportunity for Vapor. Another shot, another save by Stammer. Vapor still pressuring. Another one blocked in front. A chance and they score! Niepi cleans up the garbage in front. And Vapor cut this lead in half. 2-1 now. And that was exactly what Vapor needed here as we approach the halfway mark of this game. As again, just Niepi, right place, right time, loose puck, got to it. And was able to beat Stammer, who had kind of stalled them out there in net after a couple of opportunities. Second goal on the season for Niepi, who, as we talked about, makes his return to the Elite Division after not really playing consistently for a while. Was a staple of those Enigma teams back in the day, was with IQ for a while, spent some time with Voxio Lakers in the ECL 23 winter season. And as a shot hits the post there, Vapor was looking for the tying mark. Niepi played last season, but in the Pro Division with Vizio, had an impressive run, 54 points in 30 games, but back in the Elite Division for the first time in 3 years. And makes his impact there. As Vapor looking to tie things up, they're in the offensive zone. Almost had a chance there. As Zuvi controls it. Puck shot on in front, but blocked. Vapor still on the attack. Puck behind the net, found by Zuvi once again. Passed over to JM, to the point now to Savanainen. Savanainen evading a defender. Goes back to the high point. Moves it to Niepi, but poke checked away at the high slot. And here comes Tohtorit down the other end. Oyola pushing forward, tried to pass in front, but it's picked off there by Savanainen. JM gets it past the blue line momentarily, but disrupted by Tohtorit, who take over possession and will gladly slow down the pace of this game. Vapor swarming right now all over the ice. We approach the 5-minute mark of period number 2. Vapor gets on the board with that goal from Niepi. 2-1 score for Tohtorit. Vapor have it in the neutral zone, and JM moves it in past into the offensive end. Savanainen one-time shot there to Pensames, but blocked in front once again. Only 6 shots on net for Vapor, but they've had about 5 or 6 attempts just blocked by Tohtorit's bodies in front. They've done a great job, Tohtorit has, of getting in front of those shooting lanes throughout this game. Carcass has it at the left boards. Oyola covering for him at the high point. Moves it over to Pro Filipaki, but it's turned over. Pensames controlling it from 4, but an offside called as we're battling for that puck right at the blue line. 1:49 to play here in the second period. What has been a back and forth game. Tohtorit had all of the momentum in period 1, but ever since, Vapor has really controlled this game in the second frame. Face off in the neutral zone, tied up and won by Tohtorit. Dumped in, and Oyola gets it at the left corner. Moves the Carcass at the point. Shot on tipped in front. Puck still loose, but found by Vapor. Now that's the first shot on net this period for Tohtorit. They have it in the offensive zone now. Shot on from... Oh! He's robbed by Baise! The outstretched glove keeps this at a 1-goal game. And bookmark that save if Vapor can find a way to tie this game up. 5 seconds to play. Carcass at the left point. Moves to the sake of Stormy. Pass goes awry, and that will do it for the second period. Vapor gets on the board. Gets plenty of shots. plenty of opportunities, but still trailed by 1. But it could have been worse. Baise saving the day there on the glove hand save. And what was a beautiful one-time shot there from Tohtorit. But nevertheless, still find themselves trailing here in this one by a goal. As you can see, that was the save right there. Looked like goal number 3 was on the horizon, but Baise denying Tohtorit on that play. As we will get one more look at that shot. That was Oyala ripping that one from that mid-slot area. And Baise just not having it. As you see the tip in front there, as Tohtorit tried to get a couple of chances there in the latter part of that second period, but that was really about all they had. As our third and final period of regulation is now underway. Vapor with possession and moving it into the offensive zone. It's a pass in front, picked off by Profilipaki, and a potential breakaway. This is Oyala with it, pressure from behind, backhand shot, saved by Baise, and he'll freeze it. How big has Baise been over these last few minutes? A couple of big-time stops for this team. Offensive zone face-off now for Tohtorit. One back cleanly to Carcass. The left point gives it the wrist to Mikey. It's now low to Profilipaki. Tried to move it back up in front, but nothing there. Now this Vapor will slow things down and set up their breakout. As Niepi was drilled as he crossed the blue line. That will lead to a turnover, and Tohtorit not able to take advantage as an offside's called. So we get another look at that big hit that Niepi took right as he entered the offensive zone. Probably fortunate that he didn't get injured on that play. I believe that was Profilipaki that gave him the business on that play. Vapor win the neutral zone face-off, and now they move forward. Niepi back to Pensames. Looking for an option. Pass into the slot, but picked off there. And here comes Sega Stormy for Tohtorit down the other end. Pass across. Can't get the shot off there was Profilipaki, but still has possession. Back to Sega Stormy behind the net. Bumped off of that puck and picked up by Niepi for Vapor. 5 minutes through this final frame in regulation. Tohtorit clinging to that 1-goal lead. Both of their goals coming in the first period. One from Profilipaki, the opening goal of the game, and then Rista Mikey found one just minutes after. As a one-time shot blocked in front. Sega Stormy that let that one rip. Tohtorit still on the attack in the offensive end. Carcass at the left point. Turning, looking, pass, hits the post, and finds its way to Baise, who will freeze it here. Approaching the halfway mark of this period. So we've seen a lot of big hits. There's another one right there. That time it was JM laying down Profilipaki. Defensive zone face-off won by Vapor. Niepi with it, but crossed the blue line a little bit too quickly as an offside called. We'll do the face-off all over again, this time in the neutral zone. One to Carcass. To Tohtorit. Get back up and set things up here. Stormy moves it in the offensive end, is found by Vapor, and Tohtorit will have to retreat. Savanainen getting it to JM at the left boards. Back to Savanainen at the point. One-time shot! May have been tipped in front, but doesn't matter. Stammer finds it and will freeze play. Exactly 10 minutes to go. We are halfway through period number 3. Vapor still looking for that tying goal. Not a lot of shots so far through the first 10 minutes of this period between the two teams, but very tight game in the balance. As a tripping going to be called against Tohtorit, and a power play coming up now. Once again for Vapor. Sega Stormy heading to the box. Vapor has struggled on the man advantage. You can see a slashing call right there. That thick lift hitting the right glove, and the minute that happens, you know you're heading right into the penalty box. Tohtorit has been phenomenal on the penalty kill today. Do they have at least one more successful PK in them? Remember, Vapor was in this similar situation last game. Late third period power play, down by 2. But could not do anything with it. A shot on, save by Stammer. And he'll hold on for the whistle, barely getting to that. Some big saves from both him and Bise so far in this game. And Tohtorit's going to call a timeout. A little bit low on energy, and Vapor starting to fill up that full pressure meter a little bit, as we'll get another look at that outstanding save by Stammer, reading the play perfectly. It's off of that left pad. As you saw, that full pressure for Vapor had just activated at the end of that play, so Tohtorit going to use that timeout and kill it off, wisely so. Face off to the left side of Stammer. Tied up, won by Vapor. At the point of Savanainen. Working with Pensames. Stay path between one another, finds the Epi, back to Savanainen. Back to Pensames now. Looking for a play now is Vapor. Halfway gone is this man advantage for them. Looking for an opportunity. As Niepi tried to pass to the slot, but it was picked off. Oyola not able to clear it, however. Savanainen gates forward. Loses possession. Nice job from Mr. Mikey as he's going to clear that, but nice job from Niepi to catch that puck at the blue line. Vapor still pushing. Niepi with it. Disrupted shot on. Blockered away by Stammer. Sega Stormy is now out of the box, and we're back to even strength. Pushing the 6-minute mark here as a shot from the point. Blocked in front. Puck loose but found by Sega Stormy as he gives it up to Oyola. Jets down the left boards with plenty of speed. Finds Mr. Mikey. Goes to Carcass. Turned over. Here comes Vapor. JM into the offensive zone. Behind the net. And up to the point. Savanainen poke checked away. Pro Filipaki with a chance here. Plenty of space up the right boards. Stops and slows down. Waits for his teammates to gather. Tried to pass it up to the point to Sega Stormy, but it's off. That's not a bad thing for Tohtorit. It allows them to kill some time with just 3.5 to play. Now 3 minutes to go in regulation. Puck lost at the blue line and found by Vapor. JM into the offensive end, but turned over on the pass attempt to Niepi. As Oyola gets it. Oyola potentially a breakaway. Shot on, he scores! It ended up being a true breakaway. Vapor did a good job getting back, but the moves and the deception of Oyola gives himself a shot. He takes advantage of it. And Tohtorit up by 2, a 3-1 scoreline. As Oyola, he had a pair of goals in the last game, including the game winner. Gets his first one of this game to extend that Tohtorit lead back up to 2 with just 1 minute and 57 seconds remaining. That is a killer for Vapor. Well, Tohtorit, a nice exhale, I'm sure, though it's not over yet, obviously. Gotta feel much better about your chances. Knowing you're up by 2 with now just 1 minute remaining. Vapor looking for a quick goal here. 50 seconds remaining. Not able to get a clean pass in the offensive zone. They're back in it now, however, and controlled at the point. JM, pass in front, shot loose, finds Stammer, and he's going to play that out. That was a risky play. As Tohtorit do end up getting possession. Pro Filipaki with it. Nice little spin move. Holds it wisely at the boards, not wanting to turn this puck over. 25 seconds remaining now. And a delayed penalty going to be called against Vapor. Tohtorit in full control and a power play coming up. Up by 2, 15 seconds left. Carcass at the point. Stammer joins them there as the extra forward. And they will touch up with 11 seconds left. And the Comeback hopes were rather slim for Vapor after that goal from Oyola, but now it's near non-existent. As heading to the box will be Pensamis. And Tohtorit will go on the power play here for the final 11 seconds of this game, barring a goal. Face off to the right side of Baise. One to the point cleanly to Carcass. There's a shot on from Pro Filipaki, saved and played out by Baise as Zuvi has it. One more shot on. May have been blocked by Niapi, or it may have made its way through to Baise, but it's all formality. Tohtorit with a 3-1 win. Here in our final game here today, they get the clean sweep over Vapor. 4-3 win in game one, and the efforts of Stammer, who we talked about, has not had the start to the season that he would have imagined having. Your defending goaltender of the year here in the Elite Division. Had an 86 save percentage in the regular season last season for this team, played in all 28 games. I've been struggling a little bit coming into today, came in with a 78.6 save percentage, which again is not horrible. You want to try to be north of that 80% mark, but he wasn't far off of it. Just, again, not to the standard that we've seen him kind of set with the way he has played over the last few seasons, but that looked like the Stammer we know and love. Can't say the same in terms of know and love for the teams that are having to play against them, but for Tohtorit, they know him well and they love him plenty. He stepped up again for this Tohtorit team, only 1 goal allowed, 8 saves, a lot of them pretty high danger. And Baise on the other end as well, phenomenal for Vapor, will not get the result in terms of the victory, but made some critical plays throughout this one as we'll again get another look at each of the goals. The opening goal right there from Pro Filipaki, that nice little spin move that led to the shot on net and the score. That was just a couple of minutes in to the game. And right after, Tohtorit were able to find another goal. They had a 2-0 lead just 5 minutes in. But Vapor, in the second period, clawed their way back. Made this thing interesting as they worked it up at the point. Blocked in front, and Niepi, Johnny on the spot, was just able to be right where he needed to be to get that opportunity off of that block, and Stammer wasn't ready for it, was able to beat him to make it a 2-1 scoreline, and that's where we held firm for a while, but late in the third period, the speed, the grit, the grind of Oyola, able to beat the defense, the nice little move to avoid that poke check there from Savanainen. Beat Baise over on that right side. Gave Tohtorit the goal that carried them all the way through to a 3-1 victory. We will bring you back into the studio. My name is Brandon Bigsby, better known as B Major. And that'll do it for our games here today. 4 really fun games and a couple of series that we felt were going to be really interesting. If you weren't with us earlier, we started out with EXEN versus Last Dance. Last Dance taking both of those games. They were able to collect all 6 points. And as we just saw, Tohtorit able to get a pair of victories against Vapor. As before we sign off, a couple of housekeeping orders. First and foremost, let's take a quick look at the standings here to take a quick look at just how things have wrapped up. I know we've had a couple of series outside of our action here today take place, but as you mentioned, Tohtorit with another victory, so their 11 games played will go up to 12, their 16 points will go up to 19. That's big because that also puts them at a tie with Polsky Boys for third in the standings. We talked about kind of the slow start to Tohtorit season. They've lost a lot of close games. They really needed to collect a lot of points here in this series. They do exactly that, put themselves right back into the thick of that left side of the board. Mythic still holding on to that number 1 spot. After Last Dance was able to collect 6 points, they have a 2-point advantage. Mythic's the only team on the board to not take a regulation loss so far this season. Did not play today from what I've seen, but you see the right side of the board developing and shifting a good bit. Blackbirds moving their way into the 8th spot. They were over on the opposite side of that board earlier today. A 5-5 record, 14 points for the debutant team, the Pro Division champions from a season ago. And you see on the right side of the board, a couple of things changing. Vapor now in that last place spot after dropping both games in regulation. Blackjacks, who were 0-2 coming into the day, get 2 wins, pick up 2 losses, so a slower start for a veteran team, but still plenty of games in hand for them. How about SSK Esports, a team that didn't have a lot of expectations coming into the season? What a great story they are. We're the last team to make the playoffs in last season's Pro Division, made it all the way to the finals, were able to earn their way into Elite through the relegation series and winning that, earned their way in, and so far look rather competitive, exactly at 500, 5-5, just a point outside of that final playoff spot, and tied with the team that made it all the way to Winter Assembly last season in the Elite Division final in Mustakulta. Obviously, Mustakulta still a couple of games in hand, but an interesting start to the season. A lot of names that we didn't really expect to be up there. How about Goons, by the way, all the way up to 4? Didn't notice that until just now. They kind of struggled to start the season. Looks like they're finally starting to kind of find their game and hit their stride a little bit. They came in today at 9th with just 11 points. They earned all the way up to 17 points. So a pair of regulation victories for Goons today. A lot developing throughout the Elite Division, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of more results file in over the next couple of days. That we will not be live for those. Going to be interesting to see how things kind of reshape here over the next few days. As for the final time, we will bring you back into the booth as a big thank you before we sign off to everyone here that tuned in with us today. Great action throughout the day, a couple of great series. Big thank you to our teams. Big thank you to everyone behind the scenes, our SportsGamer staff and our ECL staff to make all of this possible. Also want to make sure we shout out our sponsors, COVID Unlockability, Game Changer, as well as WellNet for their generous support, everything that they do to support us here at SportsGamer and at the ECL. And though this wraps up our coverage here for this week, we'll be back right here at twitch.tv/SportsGamerGG as we have more Elite Division coverage. Nova versus Blackbirds, as well as Goons versus Onsei Esports. We will be live right here at 1945 CEST. I actually think that was our Monday matchups. It does say April 14th, but not 100% sure on the matchups as of now. We'll see if we do have that for us or not, but we will be back here on Monday, 1940, and there it is. Thank you so much, Chris. Amazing on the production as always. Mustakulta versus SSK Esports. We just talked about those two actually, currently right next to each other in the standings. That'll be our first series, while second series, the team we just saw get a clean sweep over Vapor, Tohtorit, facing off against a Goons team that got a pair of victories as well. So a couple of teams that are hot, and a finalist from a season ago going up against one of the surprises early on in the season. Make sure you're right back here with us on Monday, April 21st, 1945 CEST for my fellow North American friends. That'll be 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch this right here at twitch.tv/SportsGamerGG, or you can find this live at our Twitter/X at SportsGamerGG, or live on YouTube at SportsGamerGG. So make sure you join us here for that 2 really intriguing series that we're going to see here in about 5 days' time. I'll be right back here with you on the call for that one as we bring you back into the booth one more time. For everybody at SportsGamer, for our amazing producer Chris Ryan behind the scenes, my name is Brandon Bigsby. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you guys right back here on Monday for more Elite Division coverage. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week and a great weekend.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from WellNet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.